We're calling the meeting of the Planning Board for September 25th, 2018 to order. We have here Tide Richards, George Kingston, Lou Morbido, and John. We've got, need to announce that under the open meeting law, we are recording this for the minutes. And we're also recording it on LCAT for broadcast later. Need to ask if anyone else here is recording the meeting. Hearing none, we can proceed. First order of business, approval of the minutes of August 21st, 2018. Does anyone have any comments on them? Corrections? Hearing none. So make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Someone needs to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. First order of business here is endorsement of plans, review of covenant, stormwater, operation and maintenance, and declaration of homeowners association for the Hidden Ponds Estates. We have a letter from Bedrock Financial stating, "Dear Planning Board, we will not be able to attend the meeting scheduled for September 25th, 2018. We hereby request the hearing be rescheduled for the following meeting after September 25th, 2018. That will be October 2nd. So the hearing is closed, so we don't have to actually continue, but we're not going to act on this tonight, and hopefully we will get what we need on for the October 2nd meeting. Okay? One down. Site plan waivers.
Site plan waiver request for property owner Diane Miller. Owner's address is 5 Dewey Ave, East Long Meadow, Mass. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is Main Street Tattoo Company. Owner of business is James Fortier and Angela Fortier. Business owner's address is 41 Marshall Street, Northampton, Mass. Property address is 176 North Main Street, East Long Meadow. Property district is B. It's allowed use. Proposed hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Number of employees, including owner, only one to start, up to 4 eventually. Date of last parking plan, January 2010. The copy is on file. Summary of business. I have been tattooing for 23 years. I would like to offer the town of East Long Meadow and its surrounding area a tattoo studio that is clean, comfortable, friendly, and professional. Number of commercial vehicles is 0. Amount of storage is 0. And the application was signed and dated August 6, 2018.
Okay. So it's an allowed use in the business zone. Tattooing is becoming mainstream these days, so I don't have any objections to that. Do I have a motion to approve? Somebody?
I'll motion to approve.
Second it.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. That one is approved.
Request for waiver of site plan review. Property owner is Daniel Burak. Owner's address is 157 Summers Road, East Long Meadow, Mass. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is Costas 3D Imaging Inc., DBA Jelly on My Belly. Owner of the business is Barbara Costa and Tom Costas. Business owner's address is 55 Benedict Terrace, Long Meadow, Mass. Property address is 310 North Main Street, East Long Meadow. Property district is C. Allowed use is yes. Proposed hours of operation are Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Number of employees, including the owner, is 2. There are no other employees. Date of last parking plan with copy of the same. Certified update plan required older than 10 years. Okay, so there is no parking plan. The no commercial vehicles. The amount of storage is none. The application has been signed and dated August 13th, 2018.
This is a medical office, basically, with a catchy name. Other than that, any problems there? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Request for waiver of site plan review. Property owner is Michael Harrington, Patricia Harrington. Property owner's address is 18 Edwall Road. Phone numbers are listed here. And their proposed business is SMH Home Improvement. Owner of business is Sean Harrington. Business owner's address is 18 Edwall Road. Property address is the same. Our property district is residential A. It's allowed use. Proposed hours are undefined. Number of employees is one, including the owner is one. A summary of business: remodeling interior kitchens, bathrooms, basements, installations of windows, doors. This space would just be used as a home office. The application was signed and dated August 17th, 2018.
We have the home office. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Request for waiver of site plan review. Property owner is Madrid Realty 09 LLC. Owner's address is P.O. Box 324 East Long Meadow, Mass. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is Epstein Financial Services LLC. Owner of business is Charles D. Epstein. Business owner's address is 15 Prospect Hills Road, East Long Meadow. Property address is 12 to 14 Summers Road. Property district is business. It's an allowed use. Proposed hours of operation are 8 to 5. Number of employees are 10, including the owner. Date of last parking plan was September 10th, 2009. Summary of the business is the purpose of selling and marketing financial products. The application was, there's no commercial vehicles. The application was signed and dated August 22nd, 2018.
So this is the new commercial building on Summers.
Right.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Oh, wait a minute. Hang on, before we do this. Apparently, it has delinquent water and sewer over 6 months. So we're gonna have to hold that one until that gets cleared up. So we won't vote on it. Okay. Put that aside. Okay.
Request for waiver of site plan. Property owner is MTJ Realty LLC. Owner's address is 28 Canterbury Lane, Long Meadow, Mass. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is ATI Physical Therapy. Owner of business is Performance Rehabilitation of Western Mass, New England LLC. Business owner's address is 790 Remington Boulevard, Bolingbrook, Illinois. Property address is 168 Denslow Road, East Long Meadow, Mass. Property district is industrial. It's allowed use. Proposed hours of operation are Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. Number of employees at the clinic is 18 full-time, 3 part-time. There's abbreviations, that's why it's hard to figure out what I was reading there. Summary of business operation is outpatient physical therapy. No commercial vehicles. Nothing is stored on site. The application was signed and dated July 20th, 2018.
So this is an existing business with a name change. They got bought out by a larger company. So motion to approve.
Motion to
Do
approve.
I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Request for waiver of site plan review. Property owner is Douglas W. Long. Owner's address is 63 Birchland Ave, East Long Meadow. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is ALIA Enterprises. Owner of business is Alfred J. Long. Business owner's address is 63 Birchland Ave. Property address is the same. Property district is residential C. Allowed use is yes. Proposed hours of operation are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, online-based business. Number of employees, including the owner, is 1. Summary of business, online web-based product distribution. The application has been signed and dated August 29th, 2018.
Is Mr. Long here? Come up for a second. Just explain to us a little bit more about how the business is going to operate.
We're just an online business. We're selling farm supplements.
Are you selling do you have inventory at your house, or?
No, we're doing drop ship
Okay,
from the company.
okay, so this is just the office?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
That would need to be clear on that, that was
Yeah,
all. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You're good to go. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
Thanks.
Okay. We have Mr. John Rustico. Come forward and take a seat.
Sure.
Let me begin by saying that this is not really a planning board issue, okay? This is something, really, it's up to DPW to determine whether or not the street can be accepted.
Okay.
Okay? I will tell you that I did investigate a little bit on this, and was informed that the reason that the street has not been completed yet was that DPW was putting in a water main connection, and that rather than put the top coat in and get it torn up for the water main, that apparently now has happened.
Yeah, like
And
a year ago.
I understand that Mr. Caravetta is going to get that paved by the end of the year.
Okay.
Okay? But, you know, if he doesn't, if you are not satisfied with that, the only two options would be to petition DPW to accept it, which is unlikely. What they would have to do is take his bond, which they're holding, and pave the street, which they don't like to do, okay? The only other option would be for you to take Mr. Caravetta to court for non-performance.
Okay.
Okay? But there's really nothing the planning board can do. I sympathize with you living there and not having a finished street, okay? It should be done. But we're not in a position to enforce that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So, just so you know.
All right, because I had started at the DPW.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that said, fill out all the paperwork to then present it to the planning board. So
Yeah.
I started at their office.
Okay, well, they have to sign off on it before we can vote on it.
Okay, that's where I
Yeah.
started, so.
And they don't sign off on uncompleted streets.
Right.
And I know that they prefer not to do it themselves if they can avoid it, because it costs more to begin with.
And I understand that, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that the DPW were actually the ones that had said.
Yeah.
to-
Who
to
did
do
you
this.
talk to there? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was actually her at the office.
I'm not with DPW.
You were at the office though, right?
Right, I'm planning.
Right, and then the lady that came to the window afterwards was her.
Connie.
Right,
So we told you the process.
right,
Yeah.
which you,
So you do have to make that, DPW has to make the recommendation to the planning board, and then they in turn will move.
Right. As I was explaining, the reason it hadn't been paved was that they were waiting for the new line to go in. I've been assured by Mr. Caravetta that he's going to get it done this year. Okay, if he doesn't, then the two options are to go to DPW and ask them to complete it, which is not something we would do, or to, you know, look for civil relief in some way. Okay? I mean, I wish we could wave a magic wand and make it happen, but this board is not in a position to do that.
okay, so why would the DPW then recommend that I go through all the paperwork to come in front of you to do this?
Well,
That's the part I'm.
Ms. Brothers is not part of DPW, okay?
But what has to happen is the planning board has to receive information from the DPW in order to make the recommendation to the town council, because the town council is the board that approves the acceptance of the road.
Okay.
So there's several steps. So this is correct, you do have to come before the planning board, you present information and evidence. The planning board in turn can remind us to contact the developer or ask us to contact the developer and remind him that he has conditions outstanding in partnership with the DPW. There are several steps. You did the right thing by coming before the planning board to bring it to their attention. But the final release is ultimately, or final acceptance of the road is ultimately up to town council. But when you have a project that's been ongoing for several years, we like to see roads accepted within 2 years. You know, But this isn't a subdivision, this is called an A&R. It's a little bit different animal,
Okay.
approval not required. So development occurred on what was a paper street, so there's different sets of rules and regulations that you follow for the paper street. But ultimately, the planning board does weigh in, as well as the DPW before the town council. But you didn't do anything wrong, you did the right thing, because the board didn't know the condition of the road. And we're not out there on the road all the time driving around, it's up to you to let us know that something's not completed. So now we'll move it, I'll have a conversation tomorrow with Bruce.
Okay.
Benny. But you did the right thing.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, no A&Rs. Next thing we have is two sign permits.
Town of East Long Meadow sign permit application dated August 12th, 2018. Business name and property is Shelburne Falls Coffee Roasters, 60 Shaker Road, East Long Meadow. Business owner's name and address is Curtis, Rich, and Kathy Lytle. Thank you. I couldn't read the writing, sorry. 1339 Mohawk Trail, Shelburne, Mass. Property owner's address is Shaker Road, LLC, 785 William Street, Suite 352, Long Meadow. Contact person is Kathy Lytle, and there's an email address. Square footage of proposed sign is 20 feet. Freestanding sign, yes. Height above the ground, 10 feet. Attached to the building is no. No projections from the building. Setback from property line is 14.5 feet. Distance to top of sign is 12 feet. It's a permanent sign. It is non-illuminated. Number of existing sign, which is post only, is 1. Total square foot of existing signs is 0. Number of proposed signs is 1. Total square footage proposed sign is 20 square feet. Total square footage proposed sign and existing signs is 20 square feet. Applicant is Shelburne Falls Coffee Roasters. The estimated cost is $3,500. A signed affidavit is attached. Zoning determination is also attached.
My concern with this one is I know why the pole is there. We had a sign on there many years ago and it was removed because it was not on the property. My understanding is the situation of the pole is on an adjacent lot.
So the pole does not belong to the property owner?
I'm not sure about that.
Well, it couldn't if it was on the wrong
Oh, no,
parcel.
I'm sorry, no, I retract that. That was not the case. It was taken down for some reason, I'm not sure why. Probably because it was deteriorated. But determination is positive, right? That the zoning enforcement officer says it's okay? Fine. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Town of East Long Meadow sign permit application dated August 21st, 2018. Business name and address is Cookies Cafe, 520 North Main Street. Business owner's name and address is Cookie Torin, 195 Bottom Street, Springfield, Mass. Property owner's name and address is the same. Phone numbers are listed here. Square footage of proposed sign is 6 square feet. It's freestanding. Height above the ground is 11 feet. It is not attached to the building. No projections, of course. Setback from property line is 40 feet. Distance to nearest side yard is 20 feet. It's a permanent sign. It's not illuminated. Number of existing signs is 1. Total square footage of existing signs is 48. Total square footage of proposed sign and existing sign is 48. The applicant, Cookie Torres, has been signed. The estimated cost is $495. A signed affidavit is attached. And this must be what it looks like.
So we're changing Casa Cafe to Cookies Cafe. basically.
Same sign, Costa Cookies, okay.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, the next one is Chestnut and Shaker. We have the request to withdraw,
It wasn't in yours.
and it wasn't in my package.
Here you go.
This is a request for a zoning amendment at the corner of Chestnut and Shaker. And this is, want to read that?
Sure. This is addressed to the planning board and president of town council. On behalf of the applicant, John and Stephen Davis, we are herein requesting to withdraw the above referenced zoning, request for zoning amendment without prejudice. Should you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact our office at your convenience. And the letter was signed and dated August 31st, 2018 by the Levesque Associates, which is the engineer.
So we need to vote on this request. Do I have a motion to accept, to allow them to withdraw without prejudice?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so what this means is that they're withdrawing their request for extending the commercial zone, but without prejudice, which means that at some point in the future, they can come back and propose something, the same thing or something similar to it if they want to. But for the time being, they're pulling it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, very good. So if anybody's here from Great Woods, that's been withdrawn. Next one. We have the Caravetta subdivision. This is, we opened this one already, right? Okay, so this is a continuation of the 7-lot subdivision. We have,
Yeah, that's probably good over there.
we cleared up all the financial issues on this one.
Yes.
We can proceed. Pass these to Tracy before George loses them. Identify yourself.
For the record, my name is Philippe Crable from Arnold Associates. Here tonight with the applicant, Mr. Michael Caravetta, for the preliminary subdivision application proposed for the land off of Maple Street, 295 Maple Street. This project has been presented to the board at least once, maybe twice. I'm not sure if it was actually presented the second time, but the number of things that came out of the first meeting was, one specifically was the request for a peer review, which I believe has been withdrawn from the DPW, under the preliminary subdivision application. That would happen during the definitive phase of a subdivision application. At the second meeting, I believe there was some, I guess, tax questions or outstanding tax items related to the property. Those have since been addressed. So I believe that we are here back for the continuance and just address any additional questions that the board or the public may have. Just to recap the project, the parcel is located at 295 Maple Street. It's about 4.5 acres, 4.47 acres. It extends from the frontage at Maple Street all the way back to the golf course. It abuts the golf course at the rear property line. As part of the preliminary subdivision, we have anticipated an approximate 850-foot long cul-de-sac right-of-way to service 7 lots on this property. Each of the lots has been sized and has been allocated with the sufficient amount of area and frontage for the zone that this is in. Furthermore, we have addressed all the specific design items as dictated by the subdivision rules for a preliminary plan. We have shown a schematic sort of grading plan for the anticipated roadway. The topography of the parcel starts off at Maple Street, sort of takes a dip down about halfway through the parcel, comes back up, and then goes back down before the golf course. The proposed roadway right now, what we're anticipating is sort of leveling off those low areas in the middle, having one consistent slope all the way down from Maple Street down to the cul-de-sac. Within the cul-de-sac, you'll have the stormwater utilities. There'll be a series of catch basins to catch the runoff from the pavement roadway. We're anticipating that stormwater basin will go adjacent to the rear property line, which will intercept or attenuate all of the flows from the subdivision, the roadway. There is an existing easement that runs along the easterly property line. That is where the sanitary sewer line is located. We anticipate that all the lots will be connected to that sanitary sewer line, and that a water line will be extended from Maple Street down to the cul-de-sac to service all of those parcels. There are, I guess, 2 waivers that are being requested as part of the application. One being the right-of-way width from 60 down to 50 feet, and then one and also the paved roadway width from 30 to 24 feet, which would bring it more in line with a standard subdivision road in the town. That being said, if there's any additional questions, here I'll be happy to answer them.
I have one concern, and that is you've got 2 isolated pieces of land on there to the, on there towards the top of the drawing.
Okay.
Okay, one at the entrance and one at the cul-de-sac.
Here?
Yeah, and here. This board typically does not like to have land that isn't owned by anybody in a subdivision, because nobody will then maintain it, and the town typically does not accept little triangles like that because
Sure.
they can't maintain it.
Okay.
Okay? So I would like to see it,
Sure.
those assigned to some parcel there.
Sure.
And again, because you've got a road going down there, and one possibility would be to, for purposes of this subdivision, to add those on to Lot 6. Okay, I understand that there's a possibility that there may be additional houses put on the other side, at which time an A&R could be done to add those to those lots, but that's hypothetical,
Right.
okay? And we just don't like to see isolated pieces of land, because, yeah.
Understood. So, yeah, absolutely, we can certainly address that. And take care of the concerns. I know this piece of ice, this parcel here, isolated parcel that you reference is, coming in at the 90.
Yeah.
To make the roadway, kind of isolates that
Right.
corner there. We can certainly look into, having one of the lots responsible for the maintenance of that piece of land.
Okay, I'd like to see that somehow memorialized in the preliminary so that we don't forget about it. Okay,
In the preliminary?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. We will come back with a definitive.
Right,
and
okay.
That's,
Okay, well,
knowing that.
for the record, in the definitive, somebody has to own them,
Right.
okay?
Yep. Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
The sewer, is it flowing, is it a forced main or is it gravity fed?
It's gravity that goes off.
So it's going that way?
Yep.
So it's going downhill, okay, great.
John?
Is this like right here like a pond, or is there water right there, or is it, I'm trying to look.
Sorry.
Why don't you turn that
Are you asking the?
I was just
the
curious
stormwater
whether,
basin?
yeah, the water storm base, I guess.
No, that will be designed right
Oh,
now.
that's in the, okay, so that's a design.
Yeah, so this will be a design basin, that's
So to
not an
catch
existing
all of the-
pond, yes,
okay.
absolutely. That will be designed so that we meet the stormwater standards for peak rate attenuation, recharge, water quality, and all of the standards that are required to be met.
And who will maintain that?
I believe at this point, it will be part of a homeowners association?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
a homeowners association.
But it will be a part of Lot 7, okay? It will not be, again, it's an isolated parcel. It will be.
No, it'll be an easement on the parcel itself, yes. It's not a separate parcel.
So it'll be part of Lot 7, and it will be an easement. for
Correct.
Lot 7.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is standard that, we run into situations where the basins, some boards want the basins on their own parcels, but here in town, we've done it on previous projects where you kind of
We
put them on a
We want to make
parcel.
sure that it's on somebody's parcel.
Yes.
So that if the homeowners association goes away, somebody owns it.
Yes, no,
Okay.
it will be part of the parcel, yes, an
Yeah.
easement on that parcel.
Okay, good. Open up to the public. Anyone wishes to address the board on this subject? Please, identify yourself.
Hi, Jen Macarini, 29 Sun Circle. My property abuts the subdivision. So my question is, with the waivers that are being requested, when is it decided whether or not those waivers are going to be granted?
We can do that tonight.
So I just want to speak out against the waiver, especially the one expanding or reducing the number of footage that's needed to make the street. I feel like it's just the kind of territory that you need to be really careful to get into, granting waivers for, one person to profit off of when you have residents whose land has been, our financial property the value of our property has gone down, and not only that, but the things that we all are experiencing now. You have to take into consideration not just one person's finances, but all of the residents in town. And I just ask that, I think it's just kind of scary territory to start granting waivers like that. Or I know that waivers have always been granted, but I just think it's just something that we should be careful about doing.
I understand your point of view. When we look at road widths, okay, we look at a number of things. For one thing, we need approval from both fire and police that this is going to be safe, okay? Typically, the fire department would like it as wide as possibly. The police department would like it as narrow as possible, because that slows people down. And for a small subdivision like this, the 24-foot width, particularly since at the moment we've only got houses on one side, is probably sufficient for what's needed and will tend to slow people down coming down that thing to Maple Street, which, as you know, getting out to Maple Street right now is a challenge for anybody, even from Westwood, which you're, I'm sure, very familiar with.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to think about that, but for purposes of getting them to go ahead with the definitive, we need to decide on that tonight, and the board will take your comments into consideration. Thank you. Any other comments from the abutters or anyone?
Hi, my name is Frank Rochelle,
Yeah.
329 West Avenue. That land is supposed to design to build the 7 house. 35 years ago, the owner, he sold it to Mr. Carapet, say nobody can build up here because he don't got enough land up for the street, for the sewer, because when they built that sewer, they did no house, one house. You knock it down one house, you can build one house in the front, no in the back. Because you don't got enough in there. Now, they changed because they told Macarini, they told everyone, no, nobody can build there. But now everything changed. That's a big, the sewer is not enough for 7 houses. The water is not enough. The street that's tight because that's tight. But everything, depends on who they are. That's unfair like this, But you guys, people do whatever, you think that's the best. That's what.
I hear what you're saying, and we hear this a lot, that somebody
Yeah.
says a piece of land can't be built on. But until somebody actually proposes something,
Yeah.
okay, there's no such thing as an unbuildable lot. We have to, somebody's got to, either us or conservation has to look at it and determine whether or not what's being proposed, in fact, meets the zoning regulations of the town.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, and if it meets it, then whoever said that it was unbuildable didn't know what they were talking about.
They was working in town, East Long Meadow town. They tell Mr. Macarini, they tell me, they tell, they
Who,
now, I don't know
who in the
what-
town told you this?
I don't know what the,
See, this is the problem, okay? I've been doing this now 30 years, okay, including conservation. And quite frankly, until somebody brings in a plan, I would never tell anybody that something is unbuildable. You have to look at the plan and see if the plan meets the requirements, okay? And that's what we're doing tonight, okay?
also the waterfront, Westwood, go all down there. Where you gonna go, that water from West? Because maybe that's 3-4 feet low down there.
They're
From my
designing,
house,
they're
all the way- yeah.
designing a stormwater system to handle that.
Okay. Because after, the town, they give you the permit, they got a problem. Fireman, you can't go in because, I got a big truck, but something happened, the town, they got to take over. That's what they're gonna do. It's not, see, the law, it's there, I need 30 feet, that's 30 feet. Not because I gotta give you, 36, 47, whatever, it's unfair, but, that's okay. You guys,
Anyone else care to comment? Question?
I have a question.
Identify yourself, please.
Matt Kranz, I'm 15 Lessard Circle. I was curious about the timeline on the project.
Can you
If there
address
was
that?
any timeline forecasted. Thus far, the facts have been, we've had a 3-week project that's taken about 7 months back there, as far as clearing the land. And if the future shows the same kind of result, that's gonna be a problem. So I'd be interested in seeing a timeline associated with the planning.
Can you comment on that?
Well, as far as timeline goes, we're currently under the preliminary design phase, and once we have once we get through the preliminary phase, we'll move into the definitive phase, which will probably take us through the winter here at this point. And then as far as construction goes, that would be up to Mr. Carabetta, but I believe that you would have 2 to 3 years from that point of approval to actually build the road out.
Who would hold responsible?
Mr. Carabetta, would you like to comment on that?
My hope is to break ground this year.
Please identify yourself, please.
Michael Carabetta, 202 Allen Street, East Long Meadow. My hope is to break ground this year, but as you know, we submitted this back in July. One meeting in July, one in June, one in August, one in September, so we've lost several months. Just since the fact that I bought the land last January, the engineering has taken months. This process has taken months. So my guess is, it's going to take some more months, but once we get to that point, obviously there's costs add up every day, so the sooner it gets done, the better it will be for me.
I have a question. So if it was John Rustico, 59 Melrose, on street, but if he's saying 2 to 3 years on that, I've been in town 4 years and my street's not complete yet. And it was a two-house street. So I'm just curious to see if it's a 2 to 3 year plan with 7 houses.
Appreciate your comment.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the developer has bought the land, he's paying interest on it, on the loan. He's not gonna make any money back until he gets a house up, okay? So I would think he'd have an incentive to get moving on this as soon as possible. He's gotta put the road in before he can start building.
Would that be a finished road or?
It'll be a road that can be driven on, okay? Typically, you don't want to finish a road until all the construction's done, because then you tear up the road with all the equipment, okay?
4 years later?
But still, the point is, he's going to be investing money in this, okay, pretty quickly. And he's got a real incentive to get those houses up and sold, so.
Back to that though, I'd really like to see a timeline that he has to adhere to.
Well,
Because the facts thus far, and I'm only going after the facts, in February, they started clearing the land. All right, it's 4.5 acres. I've done arborist work before and lot clearing. It should be about 3 to 4 weeks to clear that amount of land. It's now been 7 months and it's still not completed. There's still equipment back there. I have a 6-year-old child. This is where my concern comes in with the development not being finished. You know, there's equipment, there's things he can get damaged on. Mind you, he shouldn't be back there.
Yeah.
As he grows up, he definitely shouldn't be back there, but things happen. Kids are adventurous.
Well, yeah, it's important that the site be secured, obviously. But I believe, Connie, he's got what, from the time of?
2 years.
2 years from the definitive to make significant progress.
So you have 6 months.
You have 6 months on a building permit. Is it different for a house?
So there are different timelines associated with permitting. So once the board approves a plan, applicant has actually 6 months to get all of the documents to the planning board. And then that plan must be recorded within 6 months of endorsement. So all the materials like homeowners association, covenant, or performance fund or security. Once all of those materials are before the board and they endorse the plan, then the developer has 6 more months in which to record the plan at the registry of deeds. But the clock starts ticking once the plans are endorsed. So we look for 2 years for completion of the infrastructure and the services, with the final top coat being done at a later time, again, because you don't want the construction vehicles tearing up the road. So that final top coat is done after the fact.
Understood.
But we look for the 2 years, from the beginning to the end.
Okay,
We
and there's
go
no
vertical.
waiver from that presented?
We like to tighten it up, frankly, to a year. I mean, in other communities where I've been, because of the decline of the market,
Yep.
there were many derelict subdivisions that were out there left to languish. So unfortunately, our subdivision regulations have a 2-year stipulation.
Is that 2 years for a top coat also?
No,
Okay.
that's additional amount of time. And what we look at, and depending, you have a paper street, so I believe it's 18 months, but I don't have the information right in front of me, so please
So
don't
not-
hold it
not
to
4
me.
years?
No, not 4 years.
Thanks.
So anyway, we have some, and the regulations are actually available online, and you can look through them anytime. The subdivision regulations for the town of East Long Meadow, if you just Google it at the website, they'll pull you up and you can check what we currently say. And anytime you want to offer some changes, we're welcome to hearing from you as to what you might recommend for tightening things up.
Okay, I think we've answered the question.
Does that help a little bit?
Any other questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Any final questions or comments here?
I was just curious, in general, I don't know if you can answer this, but more speaking broadly of divisions, what was the reasoning behind taking down the trees relatively early in the process? Like, is that something that usually happens?
We did it before they all bloomed, before the leaves got on. It just was a simpler process.
Just an easier,
A lot less
just
mess.
easier to take down,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, because, I mean, I'm obviously lived here my entire life, so seeing all those trees come down, I'm sure was kind of interesting to watch them all quickly come down. And
Yeah.
sort of the difference in scenery, I could only imagine for the people that are living nearby it.
The other thing to do at that time of the year too, to the way people's windows are closed, so you try not to create any more dust and or noise than possible. So it did take longer than expected, so unfortunately I think I did upset some neighbors, but that was not my intent.
No, yeah, I just was curious what, yeah, because I know.
Just trying to leapfrog.
Any other questions from the board?
You know, the street, relative to the cut-through that's going through Converse, and that's gonna come straight through, and then people can drive all the way around, the nursing home. You know, how close is this street to that cutoff road? Because that's gonna create a lot of traffic, because once they finish the street reassignment, at the end of Converse, people are going to be able to go straight through and around that medical building.
Well, the intention when we designed that, of course, was that they would not do that. They've got traffic slowing down devices and things like that on that road to make it not be a cut-through. But your question is valid. Do you know how far it is from this street to the entrance to East Long Meadow skilled nursing?
Yeah, I know where you're talking about, I just don't know if I have scalable plan with me to do that. Yeah, I know it's this parcel here, but where it is on this parcel, I'm not sure.
Is it actually?
I'm not even sure it's on this parcel. It might be the next door parcel.
No, it is. It's
One of them.
Fairview Extended Care Service is the parcel. Oh, you're looking at the
Yes.
narrow parcel there.
Yeah, so you have the
Yeah.
narrow parcel, so there's one
Yeah.
parcel, which
Right.
currently has a single
That's
family home on it.
Mobier? Yeah,
And then it's a little farther down.
yeah.
So is it like 50 to 100 feet away? I mean, that's pretty close on a busy road. Maple Street's a very
Yeah.
dangerous road, especially on that corner.
Well, again, they're two completely different things. And the one, you've got people coming in and out at shift times. Here you've got 7 houses, which is not a huge amount of houses. But,
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say one of my larger concerns in general always is whenever we add houses, it's traffic and what it's going to do. And obviously, it's not your fault that Maple Street's basically been a mess the last few months, but I just, that's generally my chief concern, and also the effect that it'll have on the residents surrounding us, because, collectively, we're representing the community here.
Yeah, I think the new intersection is meant to streamline the traffic. I mean, you guys probably have much more information on that than I do.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's already starting to take some
Yeah.
shape and form.
Hopefully.
okay, so
Yeah.
the question is, at this point, is there any additional information anyone on the board needs to discuss and make a decision on this?
Will we get approvals from police and fire?
For
in
the definitive,
plan?
yeah,
So this is
we will.
basically we're approving preliminary plans, and then we're gonna have a little bit longer discussion related to it in the definitive.
Right, this allows, gives them our agreement to the concept, and the details will be worked out in the definitive. We will get comments from police and fire to make sure that the turning radius is there, that the width is enough to get the trucks in and out, okay, and all that other stuff that has to happen. And also, the stormwater system is conceptual at this point, it's not designed. Okay,
Okay.
so,
Regarding, oh, I'm sorry.
no, we're back at the board.
Regarding the detention basin,
Yes.
what kind of a storm does it take to fill that?
Well, I'm probably anticipating that basin be sized for the 100-year storm at this
Okay.
point, so.
That's what I wanted it to
Yeah,
be.
yeah, absolutely. So that's part of definitely the 210 and 100 is sort of the design storms that we try to, those are the markers that we try to hit, per the stormwater policy, the DEP stormwater policy.
So it'll be a 100-year storm before that fills up, to the top?
Yeah, before it
Or
starts to
overflow.
discharge or overflow, or at least match post-development, pre-development peak discharge rates.
100-year
So
storm.
whatever's coming off the site, pre-development will match or be less than in post-development.
Anything else from the board? From the board? We have one last comment from the public?
So will the police or some other transportation people be looking at the safety of
Yes.
that, all the congestion with the?
Yes, we again, we're not traffic people, we're not fire people. So we asked the police department to comment from a public safety standpoint, and we asked the fire department to comment from a fire standpoint. And we asked DPW to make comments. And then we have the stormwater system vetted by an outside consultant, okay? So, yeah, and all of that will come together in the definitive, which we'll hold another hearing for, okay? But this is to agree or not agree to the concept, so that they can go ahead. See, the issue is, it gets very expensive to do all the stuff they need to do for the definitive. And so, they want to have at least an idea that the concept is going to be acceptable. Because to spend all that money and then be told, no, you got to go back and change it again, is something we don't want to make people go through if we can avoid it, okay? It slows things up, and it gets really expensive, so that's why we're doing it this way. Thank you. Okay, if there's no more information the board needs, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Closing the public hearing means that we're not going to take any more testimony on the preliminary, okay? We will then have to, once it's closed, we can discuss it among the board, and then we can vote on it and decide what we're going to do, okay? So all those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So 4-0, our public hearing is closed. Further discussion. Let's talk first about the request for waiver for the street. Any comments or thoughts on that? 24 feet is,
Well, we're gonna get a recommendation from DPW and
Fire.
fire and police, and why don't we wait till that?
yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
So, do we want to vote on the waiver at this point? And we can rescind that if police and fire throw up on it.
I don't know, I almost want to wait for DPW or some guidance.
Well, they're not
What's sort of the, I'm just curious, what sort of is the history of what
It doesn't matter if we vote on it now anyways, because if DPW comes back, or fire or police come back and say, hey, we are against this, we're gonna be changing our vote anyways,
Yeah.
right?
Right. But if we vote to agree to the waiver, they can at least go ahead and engineer it for this, okay?
But if we don't agree to the waiver, regardless whether we agree or not agree, they're in the same boat.
No, if we don't agree, then they have to build it to 30 feet and 50 feet.
Oh.
They have to design it to 30 feet and 50 feet. So that's the issue. Do you want to let them do the design for 24 feet? Assuming, because this is the size of most small subdivision roads these days.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious
Okay.
of that sort of historical.
So there's good feeling that police and fire are going to say that's okay. Question is, do we want to approve that waiver or not? Okay. And so I'll ask for a motion to approve the waivers, the two waivers,
You want to
and,
read them individually for
I'm
the
sorry?
record. You need to read them individually, vote
Okay.
individually on them for the record.
right. So the first waiver is from, what is it, Connie, 60 to 50?
First waiver request is to seek the required street width of a 60-foot right-of-way width and reduce it to a 50-foot right-of-way width.
Okay. So that's the first one we're looking at, is 60 to 50.
Okay, so what we'd be saying then is we would be okay with a narrower street provided that we're, DPW, fire, and police agree with us.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, you can always rescind a waiver if there's something major that's brought to you, okay? But you gotta give the developer something to work with.
Yeah, if we were all against the waiver regardless of what police, fire, and
Then they
DPW
would have
says,
to design
then it becomes a
50.
moot point.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. And then that brings up the issue of whether or not they would have the proper lot sizes. Okay, which becomes tricky.
So this basically helps in making those property lines
Right.
sufficient.
Right. You know, they might have to move some of the property lines in order to get the minimum lot size.
But this is sort of a non-binding type vote.
Well, it's binding in the sense that if police or fire doesn't come in and say it's horrible, you need to make it wider, we pretty much have to stay with it. Okay. So, we've had, we've had a motion to waive the 60-foot and 50-foot on the table, right?
You might want to make it, as Tide said, subject to,
Approval by police and fire.
I'm fine with the waiver to go narrower, provided that I've got DPW, fire, and police agreeing with me,
Yeah.
and then I'm fine with that.
Okay,
So however you want to word that, that's what I'm saying.
okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of granting the waiver of the right-of-way from 60 feet to 50 feet, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that one is granted. Now we need a motion to reduce to waive the 30-foot street width and put it down to 24 feet.
pavement.
subject to the
seeking-
same restrictions, the
Same conditions.
Yeah. Do I have a motion from somebody?
I'll make it again.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we have we need a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision plan. Somebody?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Any further discussion from the board on this, on the plan? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we have an approved preliminary. And Mr. Carabet is here, he's heard all the discussion, he knows what the concerns are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could we break, could I go to the bathroom?
What?
Could I go to the bathroom?
Let's take a 5-minute recess.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Okay. Town of East Long Meadow Planning Board, Town of East Long Meadow, please, East Long Meadow Planning Board will hold a public hearing on September 25th, 2018 at 6 p.m. in the East Long Meadow School Committee Conference Room located at East Long Meadow High School at 180 Maple Street, East Long Meadow, Mass. for case site 2018-03 storage shed at 15 Kibbe Road. A request for site plan approval for a proposed equipment storage shed on a 9.71 plus or minus acre site located at 15 Kibbe Road, Assessor's Parcel ID 52-26-D in the Residential A zoning district. Applicant Cornerstone Church, 15 Kibbe Road, East Long Meadow, Mass. Information relating to this application, is on file with the public inspection at the East Long Meadow Planning Board's office located at the Town Hall, 60 Center Square, and is available for review by the public during regular business hours, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
So, someone here to present?
Yes, there is some people here.
Please.
Come on up.
Come on.
What's he doing, staying back there?
Come on.
I might need you.
How are you?
Good. Okay, tell us what you want to do.
Well, we're looking.
Identify yourself first,
Hi,
please.
Josh Eldridge, 22, Pastor Josh Eldridge, 22 Betswood Road, East Long Meadow. What we're looking to do is put an equipment storage shed on the property. We currently have a parsonage on the property that helps store some of the equipment. We also have a facility that's 50% completed that has some equipment in the lower level. And we need a place, in order to start on the lower level, we need a place to store all the equipment, scissor lifts, things to maintain the property and things like that, so.
Do we have a copy of the plan here? Okay. So, put this out. My concern is that on the original site plan that was approved, this line was supposed to be landscaped with large evergreens. Has that been done?
So we put in dark American arborvitaes that did not survive some of the deer. So with this project, we're going to be putting in some other things to probably some hollies and things that are.
The original landscape plan specifies large evergreens, white pines or something similar.
Okay.
Okay. So that's, unless you submit a change to the site plan, that's what's supposed to go in there. I've got it right here if you want to see it. I'm sure you've got copies of this in your files somewhere. But,
Yeah, probably.
These are the large ones. Okay. So it says here, the large evergreens, white pine, Norway spruce, something like that, okay? And my concern is your shed is located where these trees are supposed to be. If you look at,
shed should start after those trees, 25 feet off.
Okay, the trees are gonna be,
Yeah, so here's the parking line.
yeah.
And this is.
This shows five-
This is an old plan.
This
is
shows
not a-
5 feet off the back.
That's the old one.
Yeah,
Okay,
this
do you have a
isn't-
new one?
This isn't the one we resubmitted.
Oh,
Yeah.
so sorry.
It's okay. The one that we resubmitted is 25 and
Okay.
25.
Okay. And the trees will get planted on
20 and
completion of
45?
construction?
Yes, sir. We actually had a good conversation and education with you on plantings and what things are
Is that
good.
correct?
Yeah.
20
No,
and
this
45?
is still,
Where's the
Okay.
date of the
This was
plan?
August,
'Cause I-
August 10th.
This was May.
No, it's May 14th.
Oh, the date on the
And it
plan.
was received on August 9th.
Received August.
yeah, so this would be since then it got dropped off to the office. Because there was,
Oh. Sorry about that. Here it is.
We gotta make sure we're approving the correct plan. I mean, it's pretty basic.
Is that the one that's no longer valid?
yeah, that's it. There we go, 25 and 25.
Okay. So you got room to get the trees in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, and the concern was that the abutter needs that sort of shielding from the parking
Yeah.
lot and so on, because you've got parking lot right back there, and everybody's driving in and out when they're in their backyard. So we want to get that corrected. Okay, at this point, I'll open it up to the public. If anyone has any comments or questions, please identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Donna Schiavelli, and I'm an abutter. I live at 21 Kidney Road with my husband Neil, sitting back there. I have pictures and stuff. Can I, do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Come on up.
So...
It's a public hearing, we're supposed to hear you.
Can I sit? 'Cause I'm not so
Sure.
comfortable. Okay. I have things to say, but while we were talking about the trees, this is what we've lived with for the past 4 years. This is, I'm sorry, my back is to you. This is, this is why we are so worried, because we have not had a fair deal with this.
Okay,
Again,
pardon me, you would like to make a motion to receive those into the record?
Yeah. Well, you got that motion, we just received it.
Well,
Yeah.
this is where their shed, which, how big is your shed?
40 by 45.
So that's not really a shed, it's an industrial storage
It's a
facility.
garage.
Yep.
Okay. So, this is what I have to say. So we've lived there about 9 years, and the church was there when we got there. I'm sorry, my back is to you. So, there was a thick border of trees in the back. And one day, a bulldozer came and started cutting the trees. And after hearing these meetings, I guess that's not uncommon, but I was shocked because we didn't get any abutters notice. We had no idea what was going on. And then I found out that the original plan that went there in 2001 was 10 years prior was approved, so maybe they had an abutters, meeting then, but we weren't owners then, so we knew nothing about it. So anyway, we were operating on something that was 10 years old. So in addition to that wide blacktop parking lot that you just saw, we have a really big problem with the lights, and they just didn't get resolved. And this is why I'm nervous about this new thing. This is what I see out my window. This is what I've dealt with for years.
May I ask, what lighting are you proposing for this building?
Well, again, with the neighbors in mind, something very minimal. We have great neighbors, Neil and Donna. Neil has helped me plant most of the trees the arborvitaes that are there. And we have retrofitted all of the fixtures that were, it was both cost effective to us and helpful to our neighbors to put a lower wattage. We have LED fixtures in there now. We've tilted them down as well, with trying to balance the concern for neighbors as well as the concern for safety at night, because we we do have visitors at night that stop in to use our parking lot, and so we have chains and we have different things to help with that. So with this proposed garage, we would have one LED fixture pointed at the building and lot, and then one LED fixture pointed down on the doorway entrance, opposite side of our neighbors. So we,
Where will the doorway be on this?
the doorway will be on, this would be the, basically, let's see, what is the, here we go, east side. East side, excuse me. And then there will be garage door entrances on the front. But we'll have a, I believe it's a 38 watt LED flood that will shine towards our parking lot.
Given the concerns of the neighbors and the history of not having landscaping there, I would like to have both the lighting, the entrances, and the landscaping memorialized on the site plan that we approve. This is really just a sketch. It doesn't show the entire, well, it does show the entire property, but it's really just a sketch. It doesn't show the front parking lot or anything. I really want to see the planting plan as part of the site plan, because, again, the old one obviously has been disregarded. I would like to see a lighting plan as well, okay? Something that will show what the light levels will be.
I submitted a lighting drawing, as well as, I've been here about 10 years.
Yeah.
Before this plan.
Yeah.
Excuse me, after this plan. So, something like that, I mean, we'd have to figure out what to do. That has the white pines
Yeah.
here, where the
No, it has
arborvitae's
along
are.
the back property line as well. Yeah,
Right,
both
so,
there.
so we
both
have to
places.
figure that out as well.
Yeah,
If we go with the white pines,
yeah.
do we need to uproot all the arborvitae's? What's the?
Well, they're sort of like sticks, and the thing is that I really think that, we all love getting out there and gardening, but I really think we need professional landscapers to figure out the best way to get a buffer. And I don't really know what a buffer is. I mean, I read all these bylaws, and basically what I see is it has to be 20 feet, but then I see that it has to be, thick, and, it has to be a buffer. So, that concerns me, which we already talked about. But the other thing I was wondering is if I can request to have an architectural rendering of this building. I'm picturing this steel, storage building that I'm gonna look at every morning out my window. And
I think that's something that the board would like to see as well, okay, is, obviously, you're buying the building from somebody. I'm sure their catalog has got pictures of what this looks like. Okay, that sort of thing. But you're concerned about the arborvitae's that are on the sideline there. Again, what we've got here is a landscaping plan. If you're submitting a new or alteration to the site plan, you can submit an alteration to the landscape plan as well, okay? As long as you show it on there. Okay? The thing is that you need to make sure that it's followed, okay? That's the point. And again, I don't drive around looking at everybody's backyard.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so as neighbors, you gotta work out something that's gonna keep the Chevelli's happy, that isn't gonna make you broke, okay? Obviously, that's the
Yeah,
point.
we put 50 arborvitae's in, trust me, I mean, we're trying,
Yeah, I know the deer situation there,
Yeah.
believe me.
Yeah, the white pine would have been a better choice.
yeah.
Well, the problem with white pine is, once it grows,
Right,
the
it
bottom
doesn't-
doesn't show very well, is pretty open. So you'd be better off with something like a Norway spruce, okay, which has a denser bottom, okay? So you might think about that.
I agree with that.
This is our arborist.
It's like talking to her too on the phone.
Yeah.
This is our arborist, but, seriously, you need to think, I got white
Yeah,
pines in my
usually
backyard,
that.
and they're 20 feet up,
Yeah.
because they're 100 feet tall, okay?
Yeah.
And white pines will do that to you, okay? Which means they're also a hazard. And when you have a single line of white pines, and you get a high wind, you know what happens? They all go down, okay? So whereas the Norway spruce is gonna be, because they're top heavy and there's nothing on the bottom, Norway spruce is probably gonna be better. But, what you should do is talk to a tree guy, about what would work best there. And then put it on the plan and submit it with the plan, so that we have it, okay? Did we find the lighting plan?
Well, it shows us where the lights are going to be located on the structure. So one light is going to be in between the two garage doors and then one on the side, but there's no,
That's not a lighting plan.
no, there's no, yeah. So this is just somewhat similar to the elevation drawings. So what we're looking for is light spill, and if these are wall pack, generally the specifications that come with the lighting that you're going to get from your supplier, they'll do a cut sheet that tells you what the spill is and how far it's going to expand and go on, if it's going to spill over into someone's property. It looks like,
Yeah, so the problem with this a little bit is, in order for me to order a structure to get all these plans, I have to get this approved here. So it's like, this is step one in order to do.
Well, I mean, typically when we didn't do that in '02, okay, which we should have done. But typically over the last 8 years or so, what we've been doing is getting, when a new building goes up that abuts a residential area in particular, is getting a lighting plan which says, okay, we're gonna have a light here, it's gonna be this high, it's gonna be this type of light, either a wall pack or whatever it is.
Yep.
And from that, an engineer can plot out the lumens, okay, in the parking lot and on the neighbor's property, okay? There are programs for doing that. So that, certain type of light on this side, not facing you necessarily, but on the side that you would see, it will show whether or not that's actually going to illuminate her backyard or not. Okay, that's what a lighting plan looks like.
yeah, and generally you can, wherever you get your lamps from, your lights from, they have the program and it'll produce that site
Yeah.
plan. It's not as,
Yeah.
it's-
Your building supplier ought to be able to do that,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I mean, even before you order it, you're gonna be looking at plans and sizes and so on, talking with their salesman. They can provide you that kind of information. And, because that will help you decide to order from them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we need to continue this for additional information, okay? Is there anyone else who wants to speak to this, please?
Yes, can I ask a
If
question?
you could identify yourself.
My name's Neil Chiavelli, and I live at 21 Kibbe Road.
Okay.
And thank you for this opportunity to address this board. I'd like to know, what date was that plan there approved, where when were those trees supposed to go in, at what date?
Well, the plan was approved in '02,
Okay.
okay? So that's 16 years ago.
They
Okay,
didn't
now
go.
Let me state, please, that at 16 years, and they were put in, let's ask Josh, probably 3 years ago. So that's 13 years that they weren't there.
Yeah.
Now, what makes this board think that another 13 years isn't gonna pass before these go in?
Well, because I think some of the abutters will come and tell us that it's not being done.
Well, it shouldn't be up to the abutters, sir. It should be up to the people that are supposed to have done this. It's not up to the abutters. It's not the abutters'
Okay,
responsibilities.
but sir,
Yes.
somebody has to make the zoning enforcement officer, okay, who is the enforcement arm
Okay.
of this whole thing,
My point-
aware, okay, that there's a discrepancy, because he's got a whole town to work at, and he's
I
also the
understand
building
that.
inspector.
And I understand that, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, my point being is that you judge a person for what he is, for what he's done in the past. At least I do, somewhat so. I mean, people are subject to change. But I haven't seen any action until, actually, I dug the hole so they can put it in.
Okay,
Ask him, he's there. If he thinks I'm lying.
that's why we're.
I dug the holes
Yes,
for
sir.
him to put it in.
And this is why we're asking them to put that on the plan, so that we've got a plan that says they're gonna do this, okay?
Okay.
And then if it doesn't happen, we've got a plan that they submitted, we can go to them and say, look, here's what you promised to do, you gotta do it, okay?
Okay.
But we only gonna be able to do that if somebody tells us it hasn't been done.
Okay.
Because, again, our zoning enforcement officer can't be everywhere all the time.
I understand that.
Okay.
There's another issue here that's being overlooked, seriously. When I sit in my window and have breakfast in the morning, have dinner, have people come over for dinner and sit around the table, we look out in our backyard, and honestly, we see wild turkeys running around, we see deers, you see red foxes, you see a variety of nature. What's gonna happen now? They're talking about a shed. I've lived in homes that were smaller than 40 by 45s. This isn't a shed, this is an industrial building.
It's a garage.
It's an industrial, okay, you want to call it a garage? I'd like to call it an industrial building that I'm going to be looking at day in and day out.
Well,
And you know what, sir, seriously, if you look at that plot land, they could put that place in a lot of different areas, but they're putting it in a one spot that I have a view of Mother Nature. The one spot, seriously.
Sir.
And you listen, let me continue, please.
Please.
Because I'm not sure just what the responsibility of this board is, but I do know that this is one of the last defenses that a homeowner has against a large group as this. I'm just a homeowner, one person, unless against a group like this here. I've talked to the Reverend Tim, and everything I said to him, all my concerns, he agreed with. He agreed with all my concerns. He said, well, I'll bring them to the board. And I got a call from him saying that the board agreed not to move the building. I mean, of all places, this is the one spot that I can see Mother Nature, see what's going on, but yet this is the one spot where they put it. It's almost personal.
Well,
it's almost personal.
If we get them to put the trees in, okay, you're not going to be seeing the nature back there anyway.
You know what, sir? I would love you to come back to my house and look out my window and see what I'm going to see, because it eliminates all my view of the forestry, of the incline of nature itself.
So you're saying you don't want the trees?
I don't want the building. What do you mean the trees? I don't want the building.
Well, can I just say something? A building would be okay if it was okay, this is my house. It's such a pretty house, okay? Why would you put a steel, ugly building like that in a residential area? I thought I read in one of these bylaws that it's supposed to fit in with the area. If it was a barn-type building, like from Cloder Farms, fine, we could live with that, you know? But I mean, the church as it is, it doesn't fit into our New England thing. We have to live with that. But now, let's stop it here. Let's start making this town stick to what it is.
We're asking them to provide us with the rendering, okay? Or a picture from a catalog or whatever, okay? You've heard the concerns, okay? Keep that in mind when you're trying to pick something, so it doesn't look like a Quonset hut or, you know.
Yeah, it's very nice.
A Butler building. Well, Butler buildings, some of them look really nice, okay? You know what I'm talking about there. But I think we're going to have to continue it because we don't have the information we need, okay? So
who will give us, can we go over the exact things needed, or what kind of do that for?
Okay, well, let me enumerate what I've heard. We have another comment. Well, let me, first, we'll get another comment in a minute. Enumerate what we heard. First of all, we need the planting plan put on, okay?
The landscape plan?
The landscape plan. And if it differs from this, that's fine, as long as it does what it's supposed to do, which is provide the Chevellies with privacy. Secondly, we need a lighting plan that shows us that we're not going to be increasing and maybe even decreasing the amount of light that's going on their property. Okay, that's important. We need an architectural rendering of the building so we know what it's going to look like. And those, I think, are the three. And we need to see the entrances on the plan, entrances and exits on the plan. And in addition to that, any paving that you plan to do. Okay, if you're going to put an additional driveway up to it so that you can get there when it's springtime and everything else is mud, okay, you know, that needs to be on there. We need to see exactly what it's going to look like when it's done, because that's the only way we can take that plan, go out there and see whether or not you did what you said you were going to do, okay? And I know that we're adding expense to you, but this is basic, okay? This is not something you do with a sketch. And it's correct, this is a large building, significant building. It's an auxiliary structure, but it's large. Let's face it, it's not like my shed, my backyard, which is 10 by 8, you know? So we need to keep that in mind. So that's what we're looking for. When do you want to continue it to? Do you have enough time by October 2nd, or would you rather go with October 16th?
When is everything due in order for it to come to October 2nd meeting?
We really like to have everything a week in advance,
So that's not going to work, not to be the 16th.
at a minimum,
At a
because we
minimum.
send them back out.
Yeah. The question is, can you do it by the 16th? I mean, I don't want to schedule this if we're not going to have the materials.
The lighting can do it, so it's just a landscape.
Mike? Yeah, I think we can get, does it have to go through the paper again? The site
No,
plan?
it's the same hearing, we're
Okay.
continuing it.
Okay.
We're just asking for additional information.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
what a hearing's about.
Yeah,
Okay.
16th is due.
Yeah.
October 16th? October 16th for the hearing, but
For the continuation.
October 8th or 9th in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't, just like with a lot of ones we're dealing with tonight, I really don't like it if we schedule something and the applicant isn't ready,
I got you.
you know?
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah, the second
puts the
one.
abutters all out.
Waste of your time,
you know.
too.
Yeah.
Just.
Do we have any more comments from the floor?
Actually, just two questions. Sarah Chevalier, I'm at 34 Kibbe Road. And actually, we can see the lighting that they currently have on the church pretty clear at our house, diagonally across the street. So is that gonna get, are we questioning that? Are we gonna take a look at that lighting?
We're not dealing with that in this hearing.
So how could we go about taking care of that problem?
Good question. We didn't have a lighting plan in the original approval. I know we did deal with the church at one point and asked you to shut off the light in the atrium, which had been on all night long, and that you agreed to do, okay? As for the other lighting, you know, there's a balance between public safety, okay? You don't want kids driving in there with cases of beer, which I'm sure they do anyway.
It's the way it shines, it's shining, clearly it shines right into their dining room window, and we
Yeah.
can see it in our two side bedroom windows, it's, and there's trees in between, and we
Yeah.
can still see it, and we're diagonal across the
Yeah.
street, so,
Well, we're not dealing with that part of it here, the existing lighting.
right, so I would go to the office to form a complaint, is that
Yeah,
how we do
the
it?
violation officer, Kevin, is that it?
Kevin Duquette, yeah, you could do that. See if, problem is, we don't have a lighting plan for the original, okay? And so, there's nothing that we can hold them to. The question is it enough of a public nuisance, okay, to force something?
Okay.
Alternatively, they said they have made some changes. You could discuss it with them and see if there's something that could be done. I mean,
That hasn't worked since. So,
Okay.
Okay, and the other question is on the landscaping that they would have to put around the building. What's the time frame? So the building goes up and the landscaping goes up the next week or the next year? So what would the time frame be
well,
for that?
ideally, the landscaping would go up as soon as possible, okay?
Okay.
I mean, it's autumn. This is a great time to plant trees, okay? You can't plant them in January,
Right, right.
okay? And you're gonna have to pour a foundation for this thing. If this isn't approved by mid-November, you're not gonna be doing it till spring, let's face it. But ideally, getting the trees in is not the hardest thing in the world. And in fact, if you get them in and then put where you put them on the plan, you know that your plan agrees with what you did. Okay,
Can I speak to that?
sure.
Did I read someplace?
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Because we already have an existing planting plan.
Yeah.
If I called company tomorrow and said, hey, we'd like to go with these no-worry spruces and do this planting plan, are we still under that to be able to start doing that, or does it need to?
It's gonna take you a while. If you order trees, they're not gonna show up the next day.
Right, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
hypothetically.
Yeah,
like,
as long as you're in the spirit of getting this thing, getting the buffer in there, so it is a visual buffer, okay? I don't see a problem with, it's obviously at your risk, but I don't see a problem with us, doing that. If what you put in is 3-foot-high hollies, that's gonna be a problem.
Right.
Okay, so what you're looking for is a visual buffer, so that when they look at their backyard, and when they're having a party in the backyard, people from your parking lot don't see them, and vice versa, okay? That's what we're looking for. I mean, the alternative is a fence, which is much more ugly and much more expensive in some ways. So, sir?
This is a point of information. There was
Identify
a-
yourself.
I'm sorry, Gary Weiner. I think I was the project engineer in 2002. There was a lighting plan that was done by the manufacturer.
Okay.
It was a booklet. It was not done through the plan. It was
Okay.
done through the manufacturer's booklet. And either DPW or planning may have a copy of that.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have to try to dig that out and see whether or not they're in compliance.
It may not be relevant because it sounds like they made some changes to the lights already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, okay. So, do you have a motion, any other comments on the public at this point?
Just for point of clarification, you said entrance, exit and entrance, did you mean from the garage?
Yeah, I want to know where the garage doors are gonna be.
Sure, okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So, and again, any paving they're gonna add to the site.
Okay.
You know, and then I don't think there's an issue with the increased impervious because this is small compared to the existing parking lot. I don't think we need to make them go through doing another stormwater plan just for this. But with much bigger, we would have to do that.
So would you like to, at this point, just go over the comments that were provided to the board?
Oh, yeah,
From
that would be good.
the departments?
Sure. Johnny, do you want to
believe-
read them into the record?
I need,
Yeah, but I believe you received these. I
Yes.
think they were forwarded, I just want to make sure. Okay, so here's building inspector, August 22nd.
Okay, this is from Kevin Duquette. Connie, after reviewing with the plumbing inspector, he has noted a gas and oil separator will be needed for this garage due to it being a commercial building with a garage door for access. Per plumbing code 248 CMR, if plumbing is to be located in the garage, it will be hooked up to the sewer. If not, it will need to be a standalone system or a tank. The building permit will be conducted when the applicant submits a building permit application.
Okay, then August 23rd, also from the building commissioner.
And this is also from Kevin Duquette. Connie, after further review, section 7.34 of the zoning bylaws states proposed garage needs to be a minimum of 25 feet from the property lines due to potential access, driveways, and required landscaping requirements. 7.34 additional criteria for church and buildings for educational purposes. C, parking shall be provided in accordance with the requirements of section 5.6 of the zoning bylaws, and there shall be no parking or access driveways closer than 25 feet to the residential district boundary. D, the entire length of the side and rear yards abutting the residential district shall be landscaped for a depth of 20 feet from the lot line.
Okay. This is Cornerstone Church as well as another plan, but I tried to mark that for you.
Okay, from Thomas Christensen, Deputy Superintendent, Department of Public Works. The DPW offers no comment on the Cornerstone site plan.
And then fire?
Paul Morissette, Fire Department does not have any issues with the proposed garage.
You have all these?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Any further questions from the board at this point?
I was just curious respectfully of sort of the two questions. What was the specific reason why it was placed sort of closer to the residential properties rather than, because I know I've driven by it, I know that you guys have like a clearing on that side there all along it, but if there was any thought,
Yeah, so on the original plans, there is a community center, activity center, a secondary building for phase 2 planned on there that's taking that back area. And then on the other side, further down, if you kind of go on the parking lot on the right side all the way down, it's too close to the wetlands. So that, if anything, we that's kind of protected.
This is really the only option to place that, okay. And then just another quick question, it was raised, and I didn't realize this until this meeting, that when you put in this landscaping plan and quite a few years went by, my first concern would be, as if I was a potential homeowner here, was that it went by 13 years and then nothing really happened. So I'm sort of skeptical, or there's some skepticism on my end about whether it'll happen for a second time. I'm sure you want to see these issues rectified. I'm concerned. It would be something else if it was 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years. You know, I haven't been around for that long, and that's a substantial number of years.
You're older than 5.
Yeah, I know. So, but respectfully, that would be a concern of mine, considering landscaping is a big issue in this, and I hope to see it rectified.
Yeah, and I would like to just state to you that, on behalf of the church, that I apologize that this is not taken care of, because this is not the way that we operate. Obviously, we're a church, so please, to the Chevellies and to anybody this has impacted, please forgive us, first of all. Secondly, we also were very, very limited on staff when this was first done. 84 people pledged to build this building. That is, if you've been by the building, to think that 84 congregation members went forward and did something like this, it kind of blows your mind. But we're talking 1.5 staff members at the time. Very, pastoral, but not great. Not a general contractor. So all the nitty-gritty details of this, like a planting plan. I'm newer to the staff of the church, and I've already been kind of all over asking questions about trees and plantings. Better.
When I hear something like that, I'm very
understandably so.
Understandably,
yeah.
And I think you realize you have an area of expertise, probably on the pastoral side. Okay, there are people who have areas of expertise on landscaping and lighting and so on. And it costs a little bit, but it's well worth it in the long run to get it done by somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, sir.
Yes, again, my name's Neil Chevelli, and I'm at 21 Kibbe Road. I'm just not sure of something. When the fellow asked why he put that building there, he said he was limited only to that one spot that he could put that building there. Is that true?
It's up to.
Is that true?
It's up to them to decide.
Well, it's their lot, they can put it anywhere they want, but he said he was limited only to that one spot. Is that true?
What he said was they have plans to put another building on the back end of the lot, further back, okay, please. On the other side of the building, they don't have room because of the wetlands in the back.
Okay.
So it's somewhere on that side.
Right.
Now, where specifically they put it, it's up to them to decide. We look at, does it meet the zoning requirements?
That's my whole point,
in the
sir.
setbacks.
That's my whole point. My point is that isn't the only spot he could have put that building, but he says that he was limited to that spot.
He's limited.
It's not the only place he could have put that building.
Okay, I appreciate your comment. The point is, if they meet the zoning setbacks.
I understand that, your hands are tied. But when something is said that's not true, I think that should be brought up here. I think people need to know exactly what's going on here. He didn't need to put that building there. They wanted to put that building there, and they're in their rights to put that building there.
I hear you, sir.
So let's get that straight.
Thank you, sir. At this point, I'm going to entertain a motion from someone to continue the public hearing to October 16th at 6 o'clock. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Good.
To October 16th, you said, right?
Right.
Okay.
At 6 o'clock, as we always say.
And it was John and Lou?
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All.
Now, are you the assistant pastor?
Yes, sir.
So Pastor Tim Moore is the pastor, you're the assistant pastor?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thanks for your time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. For the pictures. Thank you for the pictures.
Mrs. Chevelli, I have your pictures. You make photocopies. You can come by and pick them up, okay? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next order of business, 604 North Main Street.
The East Long Meadow Planning Board will hold a public hearing on September 25th, 2018 at 6 p.m. in East Long Meadow School Committee Room located in East Long Meadow High School, 180 Maple Street, East Long Meadow, Mass. for the case site 2018-04, 604 North Main Street. Request for site plan approval, proposed dental office building on .32 plus or minus acres located at 604 North Main Street, Assessor's Parcel ID 1A-94-321 in the Business Zoning District. Applicant Andrew Bonavita, 84 Woodsley Road, Long Meadow, Mass. Information regarding this application is on file, for public inspection, East Long Meadow Planning Board's office located at Town Hall, 60 Center Square, is available for review by the public during regular business hours, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Connie, you have comments on this one before we start? Okay, we need to have the site plan resubmitted to scale. The existing utility information needs to be updated to reflect actual field conditions. All construction details need to be submitted on a separate sheet, and DPW reserves the right to make additional comments when the site plan is resubmitted to scale. Have any of those items been addressed yet?
We did submit a scale site plan, this scale to DPW yesterday.
Okay, and the other items?
Not today.
Okay, I'm going to recommend that since we're short one member, and we were going to have to continue this anyway because the other items are missing, that we go straight to a continuance.
There are other items you want to address, please.
I'm sorry?
There are additional items.
Should I read this into the record?
Yeah.
Okay. This is from Kevin Duquette, Building Commissioner. Comments for the proposed business building located at 604 North Main Street. Two things for consideration under zoning bylaws 5.65-A. Number one, the required 12% of parking area devoted to landscaping within the boundaries of the parking lot is to be created. Noted. Number two, the line marked parking spot for the van accessible handicap space is encroaching within the required 10-foot landscape buffer along the street line.
We'd ask for consideration on those items.
Yeah, we won't address that now.
No, but the point is that if we start taking testimony on this tonight, we're going to have to repeat it, and it's going to be reviewed by the missing member by reviewing the tape, okay? And we're probably going to have to repeat, we're going to have to continue it anyway. So my suggestion is that we continue it for additional information, and since you're going to have to come back, not go through it tonight. Unless you want to give us just a very quick overall view so that the board is aware of what you're proposing, but not get into any detail because we're going to have to revisit it.
Well, the information requested by DPW was part of the submission. They're just requesting it be submitted on a separate sheet, which doesn't really change the content of the information, only change the format of the information. So it's noted. So, but as your request, that was my request, which is a proposed building. This was an existing developed site on North Main Street, corner of Brayburn. Was a building there previously. It was removed by the owner with the idea that that building was going to be replaced by another building. He subsequently decided not to do that, and then my client has entered an agreement to purchase the land to develop a building there, but because the time has elapsed that was considered an existing condition, we're proposing we're required for site plan approval for the parking area. So there's an existing parking area there now. We plan to reuse portions of it, to repave it, to bring it up to standards. The building will be constructed in front in compliance with its own ordinance. It's a 3,400 square foot building. We're within the allowable lot coverage. The landscape area mentioned by the building inspector, we're providing 27% landscape on the site. The area includes, depending on what you define the proximity to the parking area, was somewhere between 8 and 12%, which is what's requested. As far as the van accessible space, we're looking to, we can either shift it to another location if that's preferable. We'd like to look at that as a possibility that is considered part of the sidewalk that would be accessible from these parking spaces. So that the parking here is within the 10-foot setback. We're only discussing this area in here, which is roughly about 4 or 5 feet into the 10-foot setback. The building's surrounded by commercial property on this side, commercial property across the street. This is zoned also for business at the back, so there's no significant buffering requirements. The style of the building is roughly, it's very traditionally styled building. We're looking at using some kind of clapboard siding. We're not sure if it's final yet. This is going to be a negotiated construction contract, asphalt shingle roof, pitch roof, traditionally styled windows, dormers on the roof. There'll be an attic space with the use of mechanicals and a full basement. As far as other technical requirements, there are requirements of the submission process that include things like wildlife and soils conditions. The soil's been largely replaced on the sites due to the fact that there was a building there previously. So I think the proposal from our point is that many of these items are really not germane to this particular site because it's a previously developed site. If you have any specific questions regarding my client, regarding the use of buildings, professional offices, he's planning on locating his building for practice from Long Meadow to East Long Meadow. He'd be the owner of the building. He's looking for one other professional business tenant who would be occupying about roughly half of the buildings.
And, I mean, let me say, I'm really happy that that site's being developed and being developed for something that's going to look good, okay, and be something the town can use. We do need to make sure, though, that from our point of view, all the paperwork is done the way it's supposed to be done. I mean, that's the way it is. So, because we're not complete, we are going to have to continue this, okay? And so, do you think you'll be ready? Well, do we think they'll be ready by the 2nd? Can we take them on the 2nd?
I do want you to please direct your attention to the summary list of waivers dated August 20th. There are many waivers that have been requested for this project development.
Okay.
And one thing that the Department of Public Works did drive home was that this plan that has been presented was not drawn by a project engineer. It was drawn by a landscape architect and an architect. Project engineers or
professional engineer. Professional engineer.
Yeah, professional engineer, I'm sorry, PEs. They're familiar with site development, so you wouldn't have this issue of scale and on-site infrastructure that has been presented for matters of concern by the DPW. So with all due respect, we're not addressing the land, we're addressing vertical construction by this presentation, not horizontal, and that's what this planning board reviews. They review the site, they review the land as it is, the existing conditions of the land and the proposed development of the land and what's going to happen, how the building addresses the land. And we've been over this several times. And again, with all due respect, the plan as permit has been presented is not acceptable under the bylaw of the town of East Long Meadow.
So, do you think you're going to be ready by the 2nd? Or do you want to do this for the 16th of October?
Second will be
When would those plans be available? I mean, the 2nd is next week. And the board needs some time to
I guess I need further clarity. When we submitted the plans to the planning department.
Yeah.
And 6 of them were printed at full scale, the other 9 were printed at half size. I don't know if the DPW received the half size prints or not, but
They received full-size plans.
These prints are drawn to scale. Okay? They're drawn on CAD to scale. Practice law for landscape architects allows them to file site plans. I know it's not worded that way in the zoning ordinance. Also, practice law for architects allows them to design site plans. Landscape architects are qualified professionals as far as being able to design drainage.
Well, we're deferring to DPW. I understand your comment about the landscape architect having the ability to do site plans. I think Ms. Broader's comment was that had you used a PE, maybe some of the issues DPW raised would not be there. The point is, in any case, that we're going to continue this until our staff determines that we've got the correct plan, all the paperwork is needed and the plans are acceptable. So, the question is, do we want, if we, this is Thursday, this is Tuesday, okay? If we get the plans in by Thursday, then they can be distributed to the board in time for us to review them before the meeting. If not, we should do it for the 16th. I mean, I don't want to bring you in again on second and have something else show up that says we got to come in a third time. I'd rather do it, finish it the next time around.
What you require is that there be a PE stamp on the drawing.
Well, we can't require that it's a PE.
That's what DPW is looking for. That's their recommendation and their requirement as they review these plans.
Okay, well, that's a DPW requirement. It's not a planning requirement, okay? But we do need DPW's comments on this and their approval, or they're at least saying that, yes, this meets their requirements. So I would think we should do this for the 16th, because they're going to have to review whatever is submitted, and they can't review stuff on a tournament.
Understood. We did have a pre-planning meeting where DPW didn't have any comments about the drawings.
Well, we got the comments from them.
I
Okay.
understand.
So I'm going to suggest we do the 16th. Does that make sense, Connie?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a motion to continue? First of all, is anybody here from the public to address this? I don't want to make you come out twice. No? Okay. I have a motion to continue this to October 16th.
Motion to
At 6
continue.
p.m. Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next one. We have professional building. And then we're opening this one, right? Yes.
This is definitive subdivision.
Oh, Jeffrey Lane?
Right.
Okay. that's next.
The East Long Meadow Planning Board will hold a public hearing on September 25th, 2018 at 6 p.m. in East Long Meadow School Committee Conference Room located at East Long Meadow High School, 180 Maple Street, East Long Meadow. To consider the request for case SD-D 2018-02, definitive subdivision approval for a 3-lot subdivision on 3.5 plus or minus acres located at Jeffrey Lane, assesses parcel ID 40-12 plus 13-32 plus 33 in residential zone A zoning district. Applicant Jeffrey Bosworth, Southern New England Real Estate Development, Inc., 45 Knollwood Drive, East Long Meadow, Mass. Information regarding this application is on file for public inspection at the East Long Meadow Planning Board office in the Town Hall, 60 Center Square, is available for review by the public during regular business hours, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay, so in this case, you want to come forward? In this case, it's still out for peer review. Do you wish to present to the board tonight, if it's going to be continued?
I think a question or a point of information from the board I would request. And the point of information would be that whether or not the board could see its way clear to vote in approval of the subdivision subject to DPW's approval. We submitted this in about a month ago, and not sure when it went to peer review, but it's been a month. And the only issue that we are aware of that is out there is stormwater management and storm drainage. And we've had discussions with DPW about everything from a new hydrant to sidewalks to all the issues. So my question, I guess, to the board is, if that is not going to happen tonight, and approval would not be made clear tonight, then I'm not certain that we would want to move forward. Again, I believe that the only issue out there, and again, it's an issue regarding stormwater management that the peer review person is conducting for over a month. And that being the case, the other issues that are potentially in front of the board, I believe we can handle tonight. So the question is, can the board conditionally approve the plan, I guess?
The board can, but I do not recommend that the board does that. Okay. I don't like doing approvals subject to, because it just opens a can of worms. First of all, we can't vote until we close the public hearing, and the peer review is evidence at the public hearing. So
The
we,
DPW, as a condition, that the DPW is the qualified group to pass a judgment
Right.
on that peer review.
right.
So that it would seem that if DPW were comfortable and we addressed those issues, then the board's approval stands, wouldn't be compromised.
Again, we would need to close the public hearing. Once the public hearing is closed, we cannot accept additional input. That's the law.
So what the board is saying is that you can't see your way clear to
I can't.
moving this project forward.
I would not recommend the board move this project forward tonight, vote tonight.
Can I ask you to ask the other board members, just for the record?
For the record. John, what's your thoughts on this?
I mean, I would just want to get all the information in and just make a definitive decision then, because I don't want people to say, or it to be said that we made a decision without having all the information here. So I think that would be the best route for this board and making its final decision, is that we have all the information.
Luke? I agree with John. I don't wanna close it and then we need further information. We need to have all the information.
Dave?
I understand what you're requesting, and from time to time, I would consider doing what you're talking about, but since we're at the beginning of the process instead of at the end of the process, I'd rather wait till we have everything here.
With all due respect, we sort of feel like we're at the end of the process in that we were peer reviewed under the preliminary with regard to the plans, and which we have addressed in the definitive, other than the final stormwater management that we submitted. So we sort of feel after these many months that we're at the end of it rather than the beginning. And I mean, I understand what you're saying with regard to the rules. It just feels like by interjecting the peer review into this in terms of a time frame, then we would also request that the planning board at least make known to DPW, since they seem to be the ones handling peer reviews now, that there are time frame urgencies here. That, a month time to review, and I know and that's the other thing, we don't even know who the engineer is at this point. But the engineer, I'm sure for me, has a couple of them, because I've seen them on the agenda, peer reviews. But a month's time to review just drainage is excessive.
So if I may, I took this in on September 5th.
It was brought to
today's
that
September
on
28th.
August
Excuse me.
28th.
So I took this in my office on the 5th, and we discussed it. And then the formal submittal was presented and stamped by clerk's office, when?
August,
September.
no, August 29th.
Clerk's office received
Yes.
it before I did?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came into the office the 28th, I believe.
But we hadn't, okay, so
And-
let
and
me
again,
just back up
it's-
for a moment. So if I may,
Let Ms. Broadus finish.
So if I may, when we receive plans to be distributed to the planning board, we make sure that they are substantially complete before we send them out. So by sidestepping and going to the clerk's office first, instead of coming to us and letting us look through the application and making sure that we had all the materials that we needed, you first went to the clerk instead of coming to the planning department, planning and community development department. So while I appreciate that time is of the essence, we do have a protocol and we have a procedure in place that I would gratefully appreciate that people honor.
And, just a second, sir. Now, if you have troubles with DPW, you know their phone number.
We have made numerous contacts with DPW.
Okay, then fine. Sir, you had a comment? Identify
Jeffrey
yourself.
Bosworth, 45 Noble Drive, the applicant.
Yeah.
I personally brought in the requested documents on August 29th. Actually, they were brought in a day previous. There was nobody in the office to receive them. The girl upstairs said, you can leave the box here. I came in, or the following day, Tracy called me and said they have to be taken down and stamped in by the town clerk's office first, and then brought up to the planning board. And that's the procedure that was followed.
Okay, thank you. This point, sir.
I'm John Mazzarino.
Address?
You know,
I need it for the minutes.
I'm sorry?
I need it for the minutes, if you don't mind.
I don't hear that well.
I need it for the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm John Mazzarino, Southern New England Development. Are we sending these things out for peer review because we lack the in-house expertise to make evaluations like this?
Yes.
Okay, we're doing that, number one. When a peer review goes out, shouldn't the applicant be notified and money put into an escrow account to cover the cost of the peer review? And shouldn't the applicant be notified as to who is doing the peer review? I thought that was in the bylaws. Am I wrong about this? No, correct me.
That's what the bylaw says.
Okay, so we're talking about procedures here, okay? At the moment...
Let me get a little closer to you here so I can hear what you're saying. Go ahead.
We're talking about procedures here, okay?
Yeah, fine.
And we need to make sure that the procedures are followed correctly. If you need to be notified of who the peer review engineer is, and if you feel that you want to have money in escrow to handle that, fine. Connie, we can work on those procedures with DPW and make sure this stuff happens, okay?
Well, actually, we have to work on that with the finance department too, because they, as I understand it, we don't have a consultant engineer peer review account established, so.
So this could be something that we can work on going forward.
What most communities use.
But in terms of notification to the applicant of who the engineer is, I think that's something that's fairly simple to do via email. And it's not a secret who we're using.
No.
So that's something I think that we should work with DPW to make sure that happens, okay?
When the initial peer review was called, when the preliminary was filed, that was a mistake made within your, whatever it is we're going to call it. And we accepted that, and Gary addressed himself to that peer review, if you could call it that, from all its inaccuracies. Now we're faced with this again, and this is another holdup for us, and I want you to consider this. I've talked to the town council extensively. I have to prepare a narrative for them regarding today's outcome. And I want you people to truly consider what's going on here and what's happening here. And I want you to take a hard look at it. I'm done. I'm sorry, that's enough for me.
Thank you. So, if I may, we are looking at our regulations. Our regulations are
Okay, I think we're
some of the practices and procedures.
Arguing these issues here is not really the place to do it. We need to work out procedures. We need to work out procedures,
Yep.
okay?
And we are all working on them.
Okay. Sir?
Mr. Chairman, just one, I guess, clarification. The subdivision regulations gives the planning board the ability to call for a peer review.
Yes.
Based upon a vote of the planning board to do that. In this particular case, and again, I understand we're talking question of how to get this procedure correct, but it's very clear that the planning board's responsibility is to call for the peer review. If DPW needs in-house expertise or outside expertise, then they, in my opinion, should be working through you, the planning board, because that's where the subdivision regulation points the responsibility. And that allows you then to establish dollars and cents, and also to potentially have 1, 2, or 3 engineers or geologists or other qualified personnel on a list that your developers or your site plan engineers can choose from. To have one engineer set aside may be not in the best interest of either the town nor the developer, just from a monetary standpoint.
What you're proposing is going to slow down the projects.
Not necessarily, because it's been in the regulations for how many years, Mr. Chairman?
Well, the reason-
And I've been peer reviewed on numerous occasions.
The reason,
And
the reason
through
it's-
the planning
The
board.
reason it's going to slow things down is because right now, the process of getting peer review can start as soon as the filing comes in, okay? If you want the planning board to vote on it, you're gonna have to wait to the next planning board meeting for that to happen.
What you're saying is that your in-house capability requires that all drainage issues now will be peer reviewed,
That's a decision being made by DPW.
but it's through your board, sir.
I'm not sure it is. DPW has their own ability to call for peer review. They don't have to ask the planning board's permission to call for peer review. It's in their procedures to call for that. And they're the ones who are calling for it, not us.
Then there needs clarification as to how they're doing that.
Then
I mean, because they're crossing over into your territory.
they're the ones that you may need to speak to about that.
Well, we have some new stormwater regulations that are coming into play, and you all will be receiving a copy of the regs, and I haven't had a chance to closely examine the regulations, the new regulations that have been adopted by the town, but maybe those questions will be answered.
Mr. Chairman, Jeff Bosworth again, 45 Norwood Drive. If I may quote from the subdivision control laws, definitive plans under submission, paragraph 3. If in the judgment of the board, consulting services are necessary or appropriate, doesn't mean they have to be, the applicant shall, prior to determination on a plan, deposit with the town an amount determined by the board to be sufficient to cover the full cost of such services. All such consultants shall be selected by the board and paid out of said deposit. That's what the...
May I suggest you also look at the town's stormwater bylaw?
Okay.
Because that's where this is actually coming from.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay. Do I have a motion to continue to October 16th?
Do you think there's any way they can make it for next week?
No.
October 2nd, we would request.
I'm just asking if you think you can make it. Or, I mean, if...
Is the peer review?
If the peer review could make it.
We would want to hold October 2nd.
Okay. Do I have a motion to continue to October 2nd?
Motion to continue.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor? Aye. October 2nd.
This is the piece that's being reviewed, right?
Yeah. We have the next public hearing.
The East Long Meadow Planning Board will hold a public hearing on September 25th, 2018 at 6 p.m. in the East Long Meadow School Committee Conference Room located at East Long Meadow High School at 180 Maple Street, East Long Meadow, Mass. For case site 2018-05, 265B Benton Drive, a request for site plan approval for a proposed professional office building on 13.17 plus or minus acres located at 265 Benton Drive, Assessor's Parcel 10-3-0 in the Industrial Garden Zoning District. Applicant BFS Real Estate LLC, 53 Southampton Road, Westfield, Mass. Information related to this application is on file with the Public Inspection at East Long Meadow Planning Board's office located at Town Hall, 60 Center Square. Is available for review for the public during regular business hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
I just comment, you heard the comments of at the last one.
I did.
Similar situation here where we don't have the peer review yet. And again, we're short one board member, so he's going to have to review all this on tape, whatever's presented tonight. So when we continue, at the continuation, he can participate in the hearing. So I'd like to get an overview of what you're doing, okay, with the understanding that we will be continuing and there may be additional questions at the next meeting.
Okay. Well, I'm Kim Mazowik, an engineer with Associated Builders, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, BFS Realty. and Berkshire Facial Surgery. And I have Tim Hool from my office with me, as well as Dr. Bill Bontempi. And I did just hear that, and I just would like to make one, well, I have two questions. One is, so you don't have a quorum to make a decision tonight?
We have a quorum.
So you do?
We do.
Okay, so my other question is, and I'll go through this, but because this is part of a previously approved master plan, I question why it went out for peer review in the first place. And I've tried to contact DPW on a number of occasions, and I didn't get a response back about some of those questions. So I do wonder if it's really necessary, and you know, we're in the same boat as
Sure.
the previous applicant, where we came in on August 24th, tried to file it. You know, these guys are understaffed.
Yeah.
And there was a long time frame in between, and here we are, and the comments still are not back. But my main point is that I really think that it's part of a master plan, that it's not necessarily required, and I wish I knew that that was going to be the case, because I would have tried to proactively, you know, speak to you guys and or DPW a little bit more about why is it required on a previously approved master plan. So with that, I'll give you the overview. Maybe you guys can think about that and then respond.
Well, Ash, when was the original plan filed, the master plan?
It's 2007.
Okay, and I think part of the issue is stormwater regulations have changed significantly in the last 11 years.
Yes.
So, but I can't speak for DPW, okay? But
Right.
That's just my guess.
Okay. All right, and we did get approval with Conservation and DEP, so we have gone through that. But so basically, this is the master plan, the previously approved master plan that you're actually seeing here. Benton Drive is on this side right here. Up here is Quad Graphics to the north. This is Mayberry over here, RTH to the south, and then WF Young on the west side over there. And what exists today that we had done back in 2007 is basically this common drive from Benton Drive down and around this central building. So this whole thing, you know, we went through the approval process with DEP and Conservation and Planning Board, and it was basically for 90,000 square feet total building on here, and with the parking, and the detention basins were done for the entire master plan. The pre and post, you know, controlling peak flow rates hasn't changed in the stormwater management regulations. So that is already in place and was previously approved, and that was something that we discussed with Conservation as well. So for what we're proposing right now is in this area here. And if you look at this one right here, as it was previously proposed, it was a 15,000 square foot building with 75 parking spaces. And what we're looking at is a little bit less than that. Let me flip the page here. So again, Benton Drive is over on this side, and this is blown up at a different scale so you can see it a little bit better. But basically we've got a 13,020 square foot facility, medical dental, and it's a multi-tenant facility that we've planned. About half of it is proposed to be occupied by Berkshire Facial Surgery. But we've got parking on both sides of this and a main corridor down here, just to make the flow easy for this. So, you know, all these parking spaces meet zoning requirements. This is an interior lot, so there's no interior side yard setbacks here. It's really the front. It's not really an interior lot, I shouldn't call it that. This was, with the master plan, it's set up as condo exclusive easement use areas. And this one right here in particular is about 2.84 acres. And that's what I'm referring to when I said interior lot. So we've got, all the utilities are readily available. They were really put in with the master plan, so there's a sewer stub, sanitary sewer stub that we can use here. There's an electrical transformer that we will backfeed to the building with. Something that we do need to bring in is water, so we'll have domestic, and then the fire suppression is fully sprinklered. So we'll have that, and then the gas company we've already spoken with, and they want to come in on the back side of the building here. We've got site lighting. We provided a site lighting photometric plan for you guys so that you can see that there's no spillage onto adjacent roadways and parcels of property. Light poles basically all around here. and then security lighting as necessary around the back. These areas here are 2 proposed patios that they have for their clients, and some other nice features that they have. There's actually a canopy over this front parking row and this one as well. You'll see it when I show you the rendering, just for they can have undercover pickup, drop off for some of their patients there as well. But there's lots of landscaping on here, as you can see. Bill loves his landscaping, so there's,
Good.
yeah, I know. And so in addition to, we've got some of these ginkgo trees, and then there's plums, there's dogwoods, a bunch of shrubbery.
Finally got some variety.
Oh my gosh, you have,
Everything's not a white pine.
no. So we intentionally did it in the front to try and dress it up and, break up the exterior facade as well. But then in the back, he's got these kind of like private client areas where he could have some of his clients back there. So he wanted to dress it up. So there's a lot of landscaping, which is exciting because we don't normally get to indulge in that one. Let me just show
Can I just
you the-
expound upon that, just so that you mind?
Sure.
The private client areas, so as you know, I do facial surgery, and a vast part of what we do is providing anesthetic services for patients. So usually you guys have kids, you got their wisdom teeth out, right? You go to have your wisdom teeth out, you go into the room with the patient. Your child's sitting there, they start the IV, we give them the medication, they go off to sleep, you get escorted back to the waiting room, and you sit there and you watch other nervous kids come in because they're getting their wisdom teeth out too. So we're kind of taking that out of the picture. We've created a sub-waiting area so that the parents will go into a separate waiting area. There'll be a coffee bar. There's a patio so that if they want to go outside, if it's a nice day, they can sit out on a bench or out at a table out there and they can read and relax. So just try to make the experience a lot more pleasant for them so that, as they're waiting for their child, they're not, sitting there looking around at all the other nervous kids that are in the waiting room. So that's basically why we had set it up. It's just for entirely patient comfort. And then the carports are set up because, as you know, when your child is done with the anesthesia, they're not exactly stable on their feet. And we do live in a northern climate where inclement weather is something that we see more often than not, especially through the months of November and April. So we wanted to have a place where surgical patients could come in. They're out of the elements, and more importantly is when they leave, they can be brought to their cars. It's dry, they're not going to slip, they're not going to get wet, not going to fall on ice. So that was the whole idea behind the design, is we wanted to make something that was a really upscale plan.
I like it a lot. It's going to be a really good-looking building on what's now a hayfield.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is how you should see plans. I want to compliment
Yes.
this team because they have presented exemplary plans, and this is how you all should receive them. So kudos to you.
This gives you a good idea of exactly what to expect.
Yeah. Exactly. Unfortunately, without the peer review results, we can't act tonight. Okay. Hopefully, we will get those back by the 2nd, and we'll be able to act then. So.
Which is next week.
Which is next week.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, and Connie, I would ask for you to double check with DPW to find out, put a little burr under their engineers' back end to get things done. Because we do have people who are waiting for this, and some really good projects are being held up. So we need to get that taken care of. Any questions at this point? If not, I'll entertain a motion to continue this to October 2nd.
Or
So
make
moved.
the motion.
Say so moved.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
There's not going to be anything that's going to prevent them from moving forward with older data in this, is there?
No.
All right.
We hope not. We're so
I know
excited about it.
2007, and I just...
Are you the genesis of the more unique trees and things like that?
Yes.
Good. Very good.
So my home is my. Are we still on camera?
Yeah.
My home is my garden. So prior to my career as a surgeon, I actually worked for a landscape company for a number of years, but I started out basically ground up. So I worked for a business called Stewart's Nursery, which is in Turners Falls. But they're a wholesale provider, all right? So they're a wholesale grower, so they have thousands of acres. So you start off digging, and then you work in propagation, and then you work in loading. And so you learn the business from the ground up. So I was exposed to literally hundreds of different varieties of plants. So my own home is actually just, it's basically a big garden, a mixture of, of shrubs and perennials and hardwoods and softwoods, and so anything I can do to make an area look nice, I certainly would do it. I think landscaping is, they say that when you're selling your house, a landscape overhaul, it increases the value of your house by 10%. So to me, it's small money for something that would make it look absolutely spectacular.
Great.
Do a mix of nice flowering trees in the springtime, so that it'll dress up the area, and then a mix of color throughout the season. So as you go into the months of June, you're going to have a little bit of color here, and then you get into July and August, you'll be able to pull out some color, some hostas for underneath, nice shade-loving plants, so you get some color from the hostas. So that's basically what we're looking at.
Okay.
And do we have an idea, will that stormwater plan be back?
Well, I will call, if we are allowed to, the peer reviewer directly, but, I was really, we didn't know until that was even happening, or that you guys had changed the process or anything, and I wish we would have known, because I would have been a little more proactive sooner about speaking with them.
We're all learning. Apologize for the delay.
Yeah, okay, well, hopefully we can wrap it up on October 2nd, but I will definitely call.
That's the only thing we have is just that.
That's it right now?
Definitely call,
Crusoe, okay.
but call our office, okay?
Russo and Associates?
To find out whether or not we've gotten it, because there's no sense in
showing up.
You're paying for your engineer and everything else to show up if we're not gonna be able to do anything with it. So if you could call like the day before or even the day of the hearing to see if we've gotten it, okay?
Yep.
Because we don't want to waste your time, and you don't want to waste ours.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And thank you guys very much.
Very
Thank you for what you guys do. I'm a school committee member in Hamden Wilbraham.
Oh, yeah.
I know exactly. You guys are lucky, man. At this point,
We haven't gone to our cars yet.
We have a bunch of administrative stuff to do yet, so.
At this point, we would just be sort of starting the regular meeting. And then, if we get out by 11, so those can be long meetings, but thank you very much. Good job.
Okay, we got some administrative stuff to go through.
So you saw comments from the Conservation Commission for the plan submittals. Probably should have brought that out during the time that the cases were discussed, but I think that you can see Cornerstone, it's not within their jurisdictional wetland. And same for North Main Street, no new comments for Jeffrey Lane, and then on Benton Drive, they did issue an order of conditions. That should be in your packet. We have the zoning enforcement officer's decision regarding the determination of property setbacks. That pertained to the proposals for 244 Shaker Road, in case there were any questions, how we measure the buffer zone, which is measured from the adjacent property line toward the subject property line.
Right.
It's not an arbitrary line floating in the middle of a field. You have to measure from one line in order to have your 25 or 20 or 50-foot buffer. So that is in there for your review. You got your invitation to the East Long Meadow Skilled Nursing Center. Whoops.
That was last Friday.
That was last week.
Last week.
Okay, so, and new forms, every week I have a new form, but right now, I don't have any decisions, or not decisions, but any form that I presented to you for any particular case, because we're not there tonight. The sign permit approval process, which you all have been waiting for. You have some new language, text amendments. Did you all bring that with you? You say you did? Because we want to be able to send that on to town council. Kevin Duquette, the code enforcement officer, and I went through the sign bylaw. And
That'd be great. Save us time.
Pardon?
It'll save us time.
Oh, well, that's what we do. That's what staff does. That's part of our service to you. So
Wonderful
board
service.
members don't have to be picking apart the text of your current bylaw.
It's down at the bottom, I believe.
So I believe I sent it to you, and
I mean, Connie and I went over it in detail, and there are a number of different changes, simply because it keeps referring to what the planning board has to do. And it clears up the language, it gives it all to the zoning enforcement officer, and we have a hearing on that scheduled for when?
well, we haven't. I wanted to go through the draft. I want to
Okay.
read the draft, make sure you accept the text amendment that I proposed. I prepared a memo, draft a memo that will go to town clerk, Tom Florence. So, did you all look at this?
I looked at it, I don't know where I have it. Yeah. Okay, somewhere.
I emailed it to you.
Yeah, I looked at it and I thought I had it with me, but I don't.
Yeah.
I didn't print it out, but that's okay.
It was, I would have emailed it to you in anticipation of the meeting.
Yeah, 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't have it in my package here for some reason, but
Okay. Do you want me to introduce it to you?
yeah, if you would,
Okay.
quickly, and then I think we need to schedule a hearing, is what we need to do.
Okay. So the purpose of this bylaw amendment is to repeal sections of the Town of East Long Meadow zoning bylaws approved by town meeting October 27th, 2014, which stipulate that all sign application permits must go before the planning board for review and approval. After conferring with Building Commissioner Kevin Duquette, we now respectfully propose to streamline the review of sign applications to promote efficiency in the permitting process by designating certain powers to the building commissioner. Pursuant to Chapter 48, Section 7 of Massachusetts General Law, the inspector of buildings, building commissioner or local inspector, or if there are none in a town, the Board of Selectmen or person or board designated by local ordinance or bylaw, shall be charged with the enforcement of the zoning ordinance or bylaw. Furthermore, as defined by the Town of East Long Meadow zoning bylaw, zoning enforcement authority, the building commissioner is charged with enforcing all zoning bylaws of East Long Meadow, and that's under 7.5.3 definitions. So that's the basis for this proposal.
I'm in.
Okay, so I took the current bylaw, which is how we present any type of amendment or change as it is written, and then we do it all over again and we redline it. So I have, starting with the proposed changes, and this is where I'm not sure if you really want me to read everything.
No, not tonight. No.
So I think what you should do is you should go over it at home and review the red lines in your color, on your computer. And then if you have any modifications or changes, let me know. I will then add them, and then you can discuss them, and we can do the public hearing. Do you have a question?
No, I may have read them before, I couldn't find them on my email. Would you be able to resend them potentially?
Oh, of course, we can resend them again. That's,
would be good. I'm sorry,
no, you know what, with the amount of email I get, I understand. So we would absolutely resend the memo and the text amendment to the
Right.
bylaw. Okay, so when would you like to schedule the hearing then?
Well, the earliest we could do it would be the 16th, so I would say we do it for the 16th.
You want to start it on the, no, we have to advertise.
If it's twice,
Yeah, we do have to advertise
we
twice.
missed the deadline.
Okay, so then it'll be November, what?
We'll be looking at November, and you know, we've got voting day.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do we have
Yeah,
to,
that's
do we
not
have to change
scheduled.
that?
Yes. So.
So one meeting in November.
Yeah.
So we're doing the October 2nd one, sort of just to and starting to do that to sort of move it back in sync, right?
Yes.
That-
Right, but it would be the 18th of, no, that's September, that's November.
It's almost like a one meeting in October too.
Yeah.
Because the first one is going to be pretty.
It would be the 20th. Okay,
November 20th.
yeah, which is Thanksgiving week, but it's before Thanksgiving, so it's not a big deal. So,
So, I just want to make sure we are not going to have an additional meeting in November because of Election Day. You will have just one meeting?
On the 20th, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Because otherwise, 13th is just be the week previous to that. It's not going to do a whole lot.
All right, so just be mindful, we're going to also be presenting for your consideration the schedule for 2019.
Okay.
Okay, and this is always subject to change, but at least you'll have your dates in advance and you will be able to put them in your calendar. Okay, and we'll be mindful of the holidays that fall. Okay. All right, so that's the other item on the agenda for November 20th is considerate. You know what, I think frankly I'm going to put that on the October agenda. We need to look at that right away.
The meetings, yeah.
Yeah, because you know what will happen is the applications
I
will
already
start
put
to
it
come
on.
in. Oh, you put it in for October 2nd?
No, 16.
16? Okay.
Oh, no, actually, I did put it on for the 2nd.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, great, that's great. Because it looks like the October 2nd meeting, knock on wood, we might be okay. All right, dates. All right, so we'll get this, we'll do our advertising, and then Merry Christmas, Town Council, you get a zoning
Yes.
amendment. Okay, that's that. The next item that I have for your discussion, I believe, is the master plan.
Commercial vehicle.
Oh, commercial
vehicles.
vehicles. All right, so this is another we're working at definitions. So commercial vehicle, I came up with, from my previous life in the southwest of the United States where everything is simpler, much more straightforward, subject to interpretation.
Everything's slab on grade.
It's just great, yeah. So, commercial vehicle definition proposal. Any vehicle currently registered as such with the State Department of Motor Vehicles or equivalent out-of-state or federal agency and is used primarily in the conduct of a business as opposed to private, family, or individual use. It's really simple. Now,
I thought I had suggested that we added to that as evidenced by signage or other commercial additions to the vehicle.
and that's what we wanted to tweak tonight.
Yeah.
So how would you discuss?
Again, you know, the issue was and has been that people have commercial plates on pickup trucks that aren't used commercially because of the way state law is written. So I suggested we add as evidenced by signage or other commercial additions to the vehicle. So if somebody's got a pickup truck and it's just a pickup truck, but they use it to haul a travel trailer, so it's got to have commercial plates because it's that big, that would be okay. But if they have the exact same pickup truck and it says John's Landscaping on the side, that would be by evidence of it being a commercial vehicle. Likewise, if they got a pickup truck and there's no signage on it, but it's got big toolboxes and ladder racks and all the other stuff that you have with a business, that would be considered commercial. My thought was that is more enforceable than having to make the zoning enforcement officer guess whether it's being used in a business or not. And that would deal with the issue of the rolling billboards that people are concerned about, okay, and without putting an undue hardship on people who drive big pickup trucks and can't squeeze them in their garages, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay. So we need to schedule a hearing for that one too.
Okay, so help me with the insertion of the language. We're just going to go over it one more time. Okay, so we get this right. Commercial vehicle, any vehicle currently registered as such with the State Department of Motor Vehicles or equivalent out-of-state or federal agency and is used primarily in the conduct of a business as opposed to private, family, or individual use. So somewhere between as opposed to private, family, or individual.
In a business, as evidenced by
As evidenced by
signage or other commercial modifications to the vehicle.
Gotta get the tools in there too.
Well, that's commercial modification for the thing.
Okay, so, but that, I don't know if that's clear, the commercial modification.
We can work on that with the building inspector.
Yeah.
Because you can't specify everything. I mean,
Right.
If you got a bucket truck, that's pretty clearly a commercial vehicle.
That's not a family vacation vehicle.
No, you know, you try to enumerate every one, you're gonna get lost.
First, right.
Okay, so I think if we leave it that way, it's open enough that the building inspector can enforce, but it's general enough that somebody can defend themselves against a ticket by saying, no, it's really my personal vehicle and here's why I put a toolbox on it.
Do
Okay.
you want to say commercial enhancements rather than modifications?
Either word would work.
Yeah, enhancements.
Enhancements works, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, enhancements
Or
works.
commercial appurtenances?
No, not appurtenances.
I'm a simple guy, enhancements probably works better for me.
Not trying to make it, again.
We're
I'm
using
trying-
big words now.
Oh, no.
I gotta go to the dictionary to find out what that means.
Oh.
Remember, we're putting this out there as a draft. We're gonna hold a hearing. We're gonna have 100 people in the room who are gonna be telling us why this is a bad idea, okay? And we may get to tweak the language at that point. But we need to get something out there that's as close as we can in draft form so that we can hold the hearing and move on.
All right,
We've been sitting on this for way too long.
okay. Well, that's my fault because I came on board and
Yeah, well,
But that's just
No
the
one's
definition.
criticizing in any
no
way,
one's
shape, or
criticizing.
form.
I'm just saying we need to move forward, and the best way to do that is to put something out there.
do you want to do this November 20th also?
Yes.
All right.
And this is just for the definition of a commercial.
Right.
vehicle.
Yeah.
But it's a modification to the bylaw because it goes in the definition section of the bylaw.
All right.
Okay? We already have something in there that says you're not allowed to have a commercial vehicle unless it's screened. Okay? And it's the enforcement of it that got us
But a lot of
into
people
this.
don't know what a commercial vehicle is, so we have to
Yeah.
let them know.
Right.
But were we gonna, is there any way that we could add some exceptions to it? You remember, because there was a lot of concern when people were here about, I mean, we'd have to make exceptions to the bylaw itself because, you know, there was first-time responders that have commercial vehicles in their yard and they live on postage stamp properties.
Well,
Like,
you know, I have problems with that because it's up to their employer
Yeah.
to make sure that they comply with the law. And if their employer says you've got to have this on your property, they ought to be able to say to their employer, I need a bigger garage. I mean, seriously, you know. I mean, some of those I had difficulty with, to be honest with you, okay. A certain business that has a lot of first responder vehicles in town is within 10 minutes of any place in town. There's no reason why they can't drive down to that business and pick up their vehicle, you know? And it's not like it's the gas company or something. This is somebody has a machine that breaks down.
oh yeah, no, I wasn't referring to that type of first responder. I was thinking like the gas company or the electric company or someone.
Again,
utilities.
They send people out from, they don't respond from their houses. Believe me.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. So we're good with those.
Yeah.
And again, if you think, you're part of the public hearing, if you come away with something in your travels or you're doing some research and you're just as welcome to chime in and say, I would like to see this.
Yeah. And we can tweak this at the hearing, okay?
Okay. Finally, we have,
Well, I wrote this definition and it was this long, so, and I was gonna send it and I said, I better not, you know, just,
less is best.
it
Less is
wasn't
best.
less.
Okay.
There was
then-
exceptions and this and that and,
That gets really sticky, and it also happens when you're looking at a sign ordinance, when you start to have your exceptions. You're better off, you know, being straightforward, and then if there are any you can always look at a special permit, you know, you might want to think about. Because maybe for that vehicle, that emergency response vehicle, maybe they need a special permit. Because Mr. Smith, who works for, I'm gonna pull out Eversource just because, works for Eversource now in this particular capacity may not be working for that public safety, that business 3 years down the road. You know, the job may change, the employer may change, the employer's requirements to bring the vehicle home may change. So you would want to give a special permit, and, you know, if there is ever a change, it comes back to the planning board because you're amending the special permit, you know, so.
Yeah, that would be another modification to the
Yep.
bylaw. which
But I
would-
think that's a way to address it,
Yeah.
you know, if it comes up, because you know it's gonna come up, and then maybe that's where you have to have that dialogue and that conversation back and forth a little bit.
Okay.
Okay? Master plan, did you all have an opportunity to look at it? The response?
Response, yes.
Okay. And were you, anybody surprised?
No.
I love some of the comments.
Yes, and I will put it out there that we know your IP address, and, you know, if you were nasty, shame on you.
Yeah.
Behavior, you are not hiding behind a computer. Yeah, it's a Survey Monkey, and you can actually get the IP address, so, yeah.
That-
But
So
we're
you
not-
so you can't stuff the ballot box?
Nope, can't.
Good.
Nope, you can't, so,
Good.
yeah, but I think sometimes, you know, people, the purpose of this survey was to get people talking. And if you had negative comment, I've got thick skin. If you had positive comment, thank you, that helps, you know, with the thick skin that I have to have.
Yeah.
It's nice to get a compliment.
Helps make the skin a little thicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm delighted with the responses because we had 608 responses to the electronic survey and 32 on the paper out of 100 that we distributed. So a third is always a nice amount when you're doing a survey. So what I'd like to do is I would like to put this up on our website so that we still continue to have the excitement.
Okay.
And the next thing we're looking for is money. So we're going to see if we can't find some funds and see if we cannot hire consultants to see if we can't move this forward. We're also working on the open space recreation plan through another subcommittee. And the housing, you know, we're not meeting our criteria, but I was at a workshop, I was at the state conference yesterday, and there are other ways of meeting that threshold level than what has been proposed in the past. We're looking at we're starting to look at accessory dwelling units and other ways of providing housing for the working. You know, you have workforce housing, we call it workforce housing, or for the seniors or the single people who don't need their large home anymore for various reasons, don't want to have the responsibility or the maintenance or the upkeep, they want something smaller, they want to stay in town, so they'd like to be able to move into an accessory dwelling unit, and those types of units help us to meet our housing production plan for having affordability for others. So, you know, a couple of things to think about that I'll be bringing to your attention. And again, if you see anything in your reading or you come across anything, it's great to discuss it. You know, it's great to discuss these topics. And likewise, if people out in the listening audience have come upon something that in their travels that they've seen is working really splendidly for housing, hey, give us a call in planning and community development. So, may I have your permission to post this on the website? That's where.
Sure,
Is there
yeah.
anything? Do you have any questions?
It's public information. I mean, it's public record, so there's no reason not to publish it.
Nope. I just didn't want to put it out there without having your blessing.
Nobody has an objection to that, do they?
No.
Fine, we're good to go.
So, you know, if you could invite one large store to open in our community, which one would you ask? I thought it was interesting that we had a special, predominantly, people really like Target.
We've already eliminated that.
Yeah.
But they also like a specialty retail store, like Pier 1 or Crate and Barrel. So those were our two high numbers. Yeah, yeah.
Did Trader Joe's, I mean, I think it was listed a couple times.
Yeah, people want
Yeah.
Trader Joe's, so we can most certainly,
I know it didn't make the top of it,
yeah,
but.
people like Trader Joe's. Sorry, other grocery stores in the area, people like Trader Joe's. You know. As far as if we could plan the next subdivision, what would you like to see developed? We saw pretty much even distribution of single-family homes with shared amenities and open space, spacious homes on large lots, mixed-use development with retail apartments and condos, and quality rental apartments and/or condos for empty nesters or others who prefer easy maintenance and upkeep. Really, it's 24, 25, 22, 26. You can't get any more evenly distributed than this. This was really great because what I took away is that there's a need for all types of housing in the town, and you can see that the demographic is changing. You know, we have people who are of our senior population who are looking for other types of housing, and then you have young people coming in who, you know, aren't ready for the single family, but you still have the single families who are the move-up buyers. You know, they want to go up the. So I thought that was really interesting. And then if you could invite the next new dining experience to open up in town, which would you choose? We saw a lot of people want a wine bar and a food cafe, and
Never happened.
yeah, we also saw a local chain like Legal Seafood, 110 Grill, Joe's Bar and Grill, and then the American Bistro featuring local food and beverages like Max Burger in our neighboring community. Also saw some international people in the written response wanted to see Thai or Indian or Korean type of flavors coming into the area. As far as recreation, parks and open space, everybody wants to expand that bike trail. 43.48%, followed by let's host a farmer's market. And the Board of Health and Recreation and I are talking about farmer's market starting next spring. So we're working on that, the three of us, the three departments. So on a regular basis, you know, having a good farmer's market. And finally, historical preservation. We love the farms. We want to save our farms, and we also want to save the railroad station. 34 and 39%. And would you support a brewery or a vineyard? 85% of the people said yes. So we're
No surprise there. Don't need a study for that one.
And the Rotary, you know, that was the open-ended questions, and you know, people have some very strong opinions about the Rotary. Others feel that it's us. You know, it is us. It is East Long Meadow, and there are ways to tweak it, but there are also ways to just realize it's part of who we are. And
Amazing how many people put down, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just have an officer stand at Shaker Road just to make sure everybody stops when
That
they
would be
get
useful.
out.
I say leave it alone. I've seen once a year I see someone driving around backwards.
Yes, I do too. I get laughing.
Usually some little old lady.
Well, there's a sign, if you're coming down, is it Prospect? No, it's not Prospect. What's coming from Wilbraham?
Porter.
Porter, thank you.
Maple, actually.
No,
Wolverham, that's Long Meadow.
Pleasant.
I drive it all the
Which is
time, so I
Porter.
just kind
Pleasant
of
Street, yeah.
go back and forth. So if you're coming in from that direction to the Rotary heading west, there's a sign that points you to 83 and wants you to take a left. And if the next time you come down that hill, do take notice of that.
Don't turn left.
No, don't turn left, but we're working on that. DPW is aware.
People turn left there all the time.
But it shouldn't read like that. You have to go around. So the next step.
I have to look.
Because you're used to driving it, so you no longer are cognizant of the presence of that sign.
Yeah.
So the next steps, we present findings to the planning board next to town council. It'll go before town council. I guarantee you I'm going to be a little more succinct in my presentation, but I love you all and I just get so excited about it.
Yeah.
And we'll upload this to the Planning and Community Development website. with a link to the Town of East Long Meadow Facebook page. And then we should start to do our, our real formal outreach, charrette, envisioning. Again, I'm working on the funding for this. We'll see what we can.
Who are you talking to
here.
about?
Denise Menard, yep.
Okay, I assume somebody's talking to TVPC about this, because they know what grants are out there, because this is, they're planning, is what they do.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So, there are certain sections that CPC funds, Community Preservation Commission, can be used toward the construction of a master plan. But, we could find the resources to do this. And people were curious about the expense that was incurred for producing this survey. The town incurred no additional expense. I worked with people I know who do this type of work, and so they are family or friends. So there's no bill to be expected, but this just helped me shape the questions.
Good, great.
So, yeah, just so that it's out there. There was no expenditure that incurred.
Excellent.
Yeah. So there you have it.
Okay, the motion to adjourn?
I just want to make one little thing. A few days ago, or last week, I attended a Crumbling Foundation Forum in Munson, and on another capacity. But what I found, it was a very interesting discussion, because I don't know if anybody's aware of this. There has been sort of a situation that developed in Connecticut and now is beginning to move to Massachusetts, where a lot of people's foundations they find out were made by cement that is compromised. And a lot of people don't know about it. The people that do, obviously this is a pretty devastating thing, because the value of your house basically drops. So there was people who were affected by it. There were elected officials who were working on it. There was a professor who was sort of giving a geographic, sort of like geological insight. I think it was just very well done. The great people in Munson did that. But I think it's going to be probably an issue that I think will be coming up in East Long Meadow or in surrounding communities like this. So I think it should be on our radar down the road as a town, and I think as a board, because it will be a more significant issue as time goes by. So I was very, very pleased with their performance.
Good. Any other business? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.